Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Learn about smart betting strategies with AnyBet. Bet wisely, enjoy responsibly, and maximize your success. The temperature by AnyBet is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, clear lines are emerging this afternoon as Jamaicans for Justice is set to protest an increase in police killings tomorrow.
The governing JLP is urging Jamaicans to wear blue in support of the police ahead of tomorrow's End Police Violence protest.
And Fontana Pharmacy has thrown its support behind the JCF.
Fontana Pharmacy is fully on board with Wear Blue on April 29 to support our brave policemen and women.
JFJ's Michael Jackson is calling for peaceful protest.
We respect law and order. Public safety must be maintained, and anybody coming out in support of JFJ and the call that is being made must respect that.
Several teachers are voicing concerns about the passage of the long-awaited Jamaica Teaching Council bill.
In news from the rest of the world, unrest erupts in Guyana following post-mortem of 11-year-old girl found dead in hotel pool.
Polls are closing in Trinidad and Tobago's general elections.
Trump's shadow looms over pivotal Canadian election.
In headline sports, 3 pieces of business still to be sorted as Jamaica Premier League enters final weekend.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, several teachers are voicing concerns about the passage of the long-awaited Jamaica Teaching Council bill. JTA President Dr. Mark Smith and Education Minister Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we'll ask on Tuesday, will you be wearing black to support the JFJ or blue to support the JCF? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. You can also message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693 or leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, polling stations in Trinidad and Tobago have closed in what's expected to be a closely contested general election. Will it be Stuart Young or Kamala Persad-Bissesa? We'll bring you the latest from the Twin Island Republic.
At 7, millions of Canadians also voted in a pivotal election that has been completely transformed by the U.S. President. Journalist with CBC News, Oral Buchanan, will join us. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile. Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. Available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Monday afternoon, it's Monday, April 28, 2025.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Clear lines are emerging this afternoon as civil society group Jamaicans for Justice JFJ gets ready to take to the streets of the corporate area to protest against an increase in police fatal shootings. 106 Jamaicans have been killed by the security forces since the start of the year. That's a more than 100% increase in police killings. This has prompted an outcry from the prominent civil society group. They're urging Jamaicans to wear black tomorrow to voice their dissatisfaction with the increase in fatal shootings. But the governing Jamaica Labour Party JLP and corporate heavyweight Fontana Pharmacy are throwing their support behind the men and women of law enforcement. They're urging Jamaicans to wear blue and stand with the police. We begin with the response from the JLP. Mahiri Stewart reports.
The JFJ's End Police Violence protest is in response to an increase in police fatal shootings since the start of the year. Government Senator Marlon Morgan says Jamaicans must stand in solidarity with the JCF.
While the JCF and its members are not above criticism, at a time when Jamaica is registering historic and welcomed reductions in murders and other major crimes, the interest of the country will be better served by constructively criticizing the police instead of tearing them down. I am urging well-thinking and law-abiding Jamaicans to rally behind the police and motivate them by wearing blue on Tuesday, April 29. At the same time, I'm imploring the public to shun actions and utterances that may serve to demoralize and demotivate our policemen and women.
The JCF has noted that it will monitor the protest as a precautionary measure. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, reports that 106 people have been killed by the security forces as at April 28. That's 62 more than the 44 individuals INDECOM says were killed up to April 20 last year. It's a 141% increase in police fatal shootings when compared to the corresponding period last year. So far, 25 of those killed were in April alone. That's 16 more than the 9 recorded in April last year. The number of police fatal shootings has drawn criticisms from some advocacy groups, including JFJ and INDECOM, who have called for the JCF to be held accountable. But that has been met with strong resistance by sections of the public who have praised the JCF for ridding the streets of who they call violence producers. Senator Morgan says the work of the JCF should not be denounced.
Given the scourge of criminality, and in particular violent crime, with which Jamaica has had to grapple over many years, there can be no denying that our police men and women work under very tough and trying circumstances. The efforts and energies of all well-thinking and law-abiding Jamaicans should be focused on supporting and encouraging our hard-working policemen and women, not tearing them down. It is quite heartening and should not be overlooked that a culture of accountability is increasingly being fostered by the JCF.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
And corporate heavyweight Fontana Pharmacy has thrown its support behind the JCF ahead of Tuesday's planned protest by Jamaicans for Justice. Fontana has encouraged all its staff members to wear blue in solidarity with the men and women of the JCF who wear predominantly blue denim uniforms. Kevin O'Brien Chang is Fontana's chairman.
Fontana Pharmacy is fully on board with Wear Blue on April 29 to support our brave policemen and women who risk their lives daily to protect innocent Jamaicans. I hope all Jamaicans will do this to support, as I say, the people who make us a civilized country. Where would we be without the police? And how can we not support their courage? So all Jamaica, let us make it a sea of blue on April 29 to show our gratitude to those who keep this country free from crime.
Kevin O'Brien Chang, chairman of Fontana Pharmacy.
Meanwhile, the executive director of Jamaicans for Justice, Mikel Jackson, is urging participants in Tuesday's protest to maintain peace and abide by the law.
We have articulated to everybody that we've invited on our social media post that this is a peaceful protest. And that is why on the flyer you see that being the biggest font size, because we respect law and order. Public safety must be maintained, and anybody coming out in support of JFJ and the call that is being made must respect that. We've heard that there's going to be some counter-protest, and I would hope that those who are doing the counter-protest would respect law and order as well and be peaceful in whatever engagements you're doing.
Ms. Jackson reiterated that JFJ's protest is not an attempt to condemn the work of the police.
It's not an anti-police protest, let me be very clear. This is a pro-human rights, pro-accountability protest where we are reiterating our call for body-worn cameras and other systemic reforms. This is not a protest against the police. This is a pro-accountability protest that when the police is in conflict or we see controversial shootings, we know that there is independent account by way of the body-worn cameras and so on. That's all that we're doing.
Mikel Jackson, the executive director of Jamaicans for Justice. She was speaking on the JFJ-produced show Let's Talk Justice, aired on Nationwide 90 FM on Mondays.
Murders have fallen by almost 37% since the start of the year when compared to the corresponding period last year. That's according to the latest crime data from the JCF. It says up to April 26, 225 homicides had been committed. That's 130 fewer than the 355 murders recorded in the corresponding period last year. St. Andrew South Police Division continues to be a hotspot, leading the country's murder tally with 31. St. Catharines South is second with murders at 22. 3 divisions have seen an increase in homicides. They are St. Mary, Portland, and St. Thomas. Meanwhile, shootings have declined by 30%, coming in at 244 up to April 28. Rapes are down by 42%. However, the JCF says break-ins have increased by 230%. Robberies have also increased by 144%.
To education now, a growing number of teachers are voicing concerns regarding the passage of the long-awaited Jamaica Teaching Council JTC bill. This despite the bill being passed in the upper house on Friday with support from both government and opposition senators. The concerns were shared during a Zoom meeting put on by the Jamaica Teachers Association, the JTA, on Sunday. Nationwide News has seen excerpts from the meeting. Shalois Michael has the details.
The Jamaica Teaching Council bill seeks to regulate the teaching profession. It was passed on Friday after languishing for more than 2 decades. But after years of being reviewed, shelved, and revised on numerous occasions, it appears some of the island's teachers are still not satisfied. This is despite their union, the JTA, making its own submissions on the bill. In Sunday's Zoom meeting, the educators posed several questions to the leadership of the JTA, which they said needed urgent clarity. Several of the questions concerned allowances and salaries and whether the bill will affect those negotiations. Other educators questioned whether the bill will penalize those who were trained in a particular specialty but have not been teaching the subject. Other educators questioned if pre-trained teachers will still be able to teach once the bill is passed. One teacher in particular asked if the JTA can file an injunction to stop the progress of the bill until all the concerns are addressed. Another educator outrightly labeled the bill as an indirect form of taxation for teachers. Another chimed in, noting that the bill will not improve the country's education system. The questions were being answered by Dr. Mark Nicely, who's the JTA's Secretary General. He explained that the body is reviewing the bill and their suggestions are being noted. His attempts to soothe the teachers apparently fell on deaf ears. Nationwide News understands that a cadre of teachers had planned to gather today at the JTA headquarters on Church Street in Kingston in protest against the bill. But when our news team arrived, no one was there. Up to news time, efforts to get a comment from JTA President Dr. Mark Smith were unsuccessful. Debate on the JTC bill is expected to commence in the House next week. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Celebrate 26 years with IQ Optical. Enjoy 26% off your prescription eyewear and sunglasses this month only. Book your appointment or take your prescription to IQ Optical in New Kingston, Manor Park, or Drexel. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 13 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Answers Mother's Day sale up to 70% off. Up to 70% off the best brands for mom. Answers Gifts at Home, Tropical Plaza, and Answers for Children, Tropical Plaza and Sovereign Center. Answers Mother's Day sale till May 17, 2025.
Continuing the news. The murder trial of Noel Maitland has been delayed to allow the prosecution to make an application for special measures in the case to allow witnesses to testify from overseas. Maitland's trial was scheduled to begin in the Supreme Court on Monday, but instead the application for special measures will commence on Tuesday. The constable is charged with the 2022 murder of his girlfriend, social media influencer Donnelly Donaldson. He's also charged with preventing the lawful burial of a corpse. Robin Williams was in court.
When the matter was called up in the Supreme Court on Monday, Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Claudette Thompson informed Presiding Judge Justice Leighton Pusey that documents concerning the application for special measures were served last week. Thompson indicated that the Crown prefers to have the application heard before the trial begins. The special measures request relates to witnesses based overseas whose testimonies the Crown intends to rely on. Thompson noted that if the application is unsuccessful, it could affect the trial start date. She emphasized that the evidence against Constable Noel Maitland is entirely circumstantial and that each witness's testimony is interlinked. In response, Maitland's attorney Christopher Townsend asked for time to review the documents, noting his intention to challenge the application. Meanwhile, Justice Pusey issued a stern warning to members of the media and the public, cautioning against actions that could influence the jury, such as protests or public commentary. He said, quote, "This is more than a word to the wise. This is an indication of the law. Persons engaging in such activities can be brought before the court. If that happens, the trial may have to be stopped or restarted." Justice Pusey highlighted previous instances where protests occurred near the courthouse and made it clear that similar behavior would not be tolerated. Donnelly Donaldson was reported missing on July 13, 2022. Although her body has not been found, police investigators concluded that she was killed on July 12, 2022. Donaldson was last seen in Maitland's apartment. Maitland has been in custody since July 27, 2022. He has maintained his innocence. The trial is expected to last approximately 8 weeks. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The polls are now closed in Trinidad and Tobago. 1,154,708 citizens are eligible to vote in the country's general elections. The polls closed at 6 p.m. Trinidad time or 5 p.m. in Jamaica. Voters in the Twin Island Republic are electing 41 members of the House of Representatives. Senior broadcast journalist at CCN TV 6, Renisa Cutting, gave us an update on how things unfolded today.
Process today, we have not had any confirmed reports of irregularities or major concerns. What has happened, however, is that one person has been arrested for suspected voter influencing at a polling station. We in fact had candidates from several political parties raising concerns about this alleged activity, but no confirmation as yet. However, someone has been arrested.
Ms. Cutting says citizens are hoping for a smooth conclusion to today's proceedings.
We are just awaiting the close of the polls at 6 p.m., following which all the ballots will be counted, and by later tonight, a few hours thereafter, we will have a sense as to who will take Trinidad and Tobago forward. We're of course hoping that everything continues smoothly and that there is no need for any recounts, there is no legal challenge, and we can just move forward with the governance, the business of Trinidad and Tobago.
Renessa Cutting, senior broadcast journalist at CCN TV 6 News. Political commentators are saying the race is too close to call between the governing People's National Movement, led by Prime Minister Stuart Young, and the main opposition United National Congress, led by the opposition leader Kamla Persad Besesa.
Protests erupted at Georgetown Hospital in Guyana on Monday as pathologists conducted an autopsy on the body of an 11-year-old girl, Adriana Young. It's understood several protests have been underway as supporters question the circumstances surrounding her suspicious death. Adriana vanished from a hotel swimming pool on April 23 after she was reportedly sent by her grandmother to seek a pool pass. It's understood her grandmother raised an alarm after she did not return, but efforts to find her proved futile. Her body was mysteriously found in the hotel pool the next day. It's understood the protests began after the police claimed the child had left the premises in an identifiable car. Tensions remain high in the country's capital pending the outcome of the autopsy results. A journalist, Anand Prasad, tells us more.
There was then a decision by the president that independent pathologists would be invited into the country to conduct a postmortem on the child. The family has also identified a pathologist from the U.S. state of Delaware, and there's another pathologist from Barbados, and one from Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. They have spent all day trying to get themselves together, doing preliminary scanning. The autopsy started at 12:30, and up to about 10 minutes ago, it had not concluded, though it was scheduled to end shortly. In the meanwhile, there was unrest outside of the hospital where the autopsy is being done, and the police had to be called in, and rubber pellets had to be fired to move the crowd out and to restore some calm. So situation is very tense. We're waiting, of course, for the final results of the autopsy.
Anand Prasad, journalist in Guyana.
In news further afield, voting is still underway in Canada's general election. It comes just 6 weeks after Mark Carney was sworn in as Prime Minister, replacing the unpopular Justin Trudeau. But the election is being overshadowed by the U.S. President Donald Trump, who has threatened to take over Canada. As voting got underway on Monday, Mr. Trump wrote, "No more artificially drawn lines from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be." He said so on his Truth social media platform. The Conservative leader Pierre Olivier, who is accused by his critics of Trump-like policies and style, was the first political leader to respond. In his social media post, he declared that Canada would always be proud, sovereign, and independent, and would never be the 51st state of the United States. In a poll viewed as one of the most consequential in Canada's history, Olivier is fighting to close the gap with banker-turned-novice politician Mark Carney, who heads the Liberals. In his last days of campaigning, Carney made President Trump, not Olivier, his main target of attack. Taking on Trump is the one issue political leaders all agree on, but they also know it's not an equal fight. The U.S. economy is 10 times the size of Canada's.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, clear lines are emerging this afternoon as Jamaicans for Justice is set to protest an increase in police killings tomorrow.
The governing JLP is urging Jamaicans to wear blue in support of the police ahead of tomorrow's End Police Violence protest.
Fontana Pharmacy has thrown its support behind the police.
JFJ's Michael Jackson calling for peaceful protest.
Several teachers are voicing concerns about the passage of the long-awaited Jamaica Teaching Council bill. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, we'll have the headlines at 6.
New KFC Saucy Wings. Attention all wings lovers. KFC Saucy Wings with 2 new flavors. Mango habanero and buffalo. Hot, spicy. KFC we have Saucy Wings. Delicious, spicy, the best. So a new KFC Saucy Wings crunch the rest. Nobody does wings like KFC. New Saucy Wings is for me.
New KFC Saucy Wings. Delicious, hot, and spicy wings tossed in savory mango habanero or buffalo sauce. Wings that will crunch the rest. New KFC Saucy Wings. It's finger licking good.
The future is here. Meet your new best friend, the Samsung Galaxy S25. Unlock your true potential with this powerful but sleek AI companion. The S25 has exciting features such as the enhanced AI and camera. Let's transform the future together. Ask about our trade-in, smart payment, and insurance protection plans. Get yours today at select digital stores, Crossroads, Tropical Plaza, Spanish Town, downtown, and also available at the SMS store, 12 Ruth Venner Road, Kingston 10. SMS Group is your gateway to technology.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. There are 3 pieces of business to be sorted on what is expected to be a tantalizing final day of the league season. In the Rare Nephew Jamaica Premier League on Sunday, the battle for the last playoff spot is a straight fight between Waterhouse and Tivoli Gardens, who are both on 55 points. But Tivoli, they hold the advantage because they have a superior goal difference. On the final day of the league season, Tivoli will host Montego Bay United at the Edward Seaga Complex, while Waterhouse will visit Dunby Holden. The Tivoli-Mobay game could also have implications on the second automatic semi-final qualifiers because Mobay, they're on 75 points and will need to win to make sure, as third place Arnett Gardens are just 2 points behind, and they will host Harbourview on the final day. At the other end of the table, one of Molynes United, Humber Line or Chapelton Maroons will join Vere United as relegated teams. Molynes, they're on 35 points and will be safe if they beat champions Cavalier. A draw could also do it if other results go their way. Chapelton will visit Vere, where a victory will keep them in the league for next season, while Humber Line will be home to Mount Pleasant on the last day. They must win and hope other results go their way. Defending champion Seaforth crushed Portmorant All-Stars 5-1 in zone A action of the Sir St. Thomas Major League Football competition. Kimani Edwards with a double and Tyreek Patterson, Tajay Young and O'Shane Webley were the other goal scorers for Seaforth. Nigel Cameron's 31st minute equalizer was the only response from the Portmorant All-Stars team. In Zone B, it was 0-0 between the White Horses and the Yellow All-Stars. The Jamaica Titans will be back in action in the West Indies Breakout T20 League on Tuesday. The Titans will face off with the Guyana Rainforest Rangers at the Brian Lara Stadium starting at 1 o'clock Jamaica time. This will be the Titans' second game at the tournament following their 6-wicket defeat to the Leeward Islands Thunder last Saturday. In the second game on Tuesday, the Barbados Pelicans will square off with the Windward Islands Infernos. That game is scheduled to board off at 6 p.m. Jamaica time. The BCCI, the Board of Control for Cricket in India, is actively considering expanding the IPL season to 94 games from 2028, but has no plans to introduce new franchises in the near future. The league expanded to its current 74-match format in 2022, following the sale of the Gujarat Titans and the Lucknow Super Kings Super Giants franchises. Initial plans to grow to 84 games for 2025 were delayed owing to a scheduling crunch around the tournament window and the broadcasters' aversion to too many doubleheaders, but expansion remains on the table in the medium term. The IPL's window and the Futures Tour program are locked in for the next 2 years, running from mid-March until the end of May. But Arun Dumal, the IPL chairman, said the BCCI will seriously consider an expansion to a full home-and-away 94-match format for the next media rights cycle, which starts in 2028. The duration of the IPL's window will form part of the discussions next year when boards thrash out the details of the next Futures Tour program. Assistant coach of Jamaica's team to the recent Carifta Swimming Championships, Lemon Lowe, says if Jamaica is to conquer the region in swimming, there's still a lot of work to be done. Jamaica's 30-member team ended the tournament in second place on the points table with 795.5 points. The Bahamas topped both the points table and the medal standings with 979 points and 74 medals to retain their title. Jamaica finished with 21 gold, 19 silver and 16 bronze for a grand total of 56 medals. Speaking on Sports Nation Live on Saturday, Lowe says Jamaica will have to improve greatly if they are to contest for major honors.
Bahamas have it over everybody else in the Caribbean, where they're in every final
every event with at least 2 to 1 swimmer. So they load it. And what happens is that it makes it difficult to beat a team like that if you're not doing the same thing. Going forward, we realize where our gaps are, and as coaches, we realize that we have to take back that now to the club level and help the club level coaches to realize that we need more 200 breast swimmers, we need more 200 back, more 400 IM, and these are the areas that we weren't so strong in. And if we can get the younger ones to get into the habit of swimming those events, then we can compete.
Swimming coach Limon Low. And finally, in sports at the stand, the Cleveland Cavaliers will tonight look to close out their NBA Eastern Conference first-round playoff series against the Miami Heat. The Cavaliers lead the series 3-0, and victory in Miami tonight will give them a sweep. The Golden State Warriors are also in action tonight. They'll be at home to the Houston Rockets in their Western Conference series. They lead by 2-1. Former many-time champions, the Los Angeles Lakers, they're on the edge of a first-round elimination. They were beaten 116-113 by Minnesota last night, and they now trail 3-1 in their best-of-7 Western Conference series. The Ants-man, Anthony Edwards, led Minnesota with 43 points. Luka Doncic was a star man for the Lakers. He bagged 38 points. Minnesota can close out the series on Wednesday when the teams return to LA for Game 5. And the defending champions Boston, they're just a win away from the Eastern Conference semifinals. And this after beating Orlando 107-98 to surge into a 3-1 lead. New York also went 3-1 up in their Eastern Conference series with Detroit. They won Game 4, 94-93. And that will do it for Sports at the Minute. We're going to be back, though, with much more at 6:05 in our major sportscast.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
New KFC saucy wings. Attention all wings lovers. KFC saucy wings with 2 new flavors. Mango habanero and buffalo. Hot, spicy. KFC we have saucy wings. Delicious, spicy, the best. So a new KFC saucy wings crunch the rest. Nobody does wings like KFC. New saucy wings is for me.
New KFC saucy wings. Delicious, hot and spicy wings tossed in savory mango habanero or buffalo sauce. Wings that will crunch the rest. New KFC saucy wings. It's finger licking good.
Taxi drivers, are you ready to earn more? Join Amber on Time and keep 100% of your fares in the first month. No commission, no catch. Plus, in your second month, we'll install a free vehicle tracker to help keep you and your car safe. Stolen vehicle recovery and panic button response are also on us. And guess what? On May 3rd and 4th, come to 13 Haining Road. Snacks and drinks are on us. Come link up, ask questions, sign up on the spot, and level up with Amber on Time, Jamaica's taxi app built just for you.
Big news! The Big Bite Food Safety Show now airs on Nationwide 90 FM with your host, Alison Richards, the Food Safety Girl. Join Alison every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. as she serves up expert advice, tips, and insights on everything food safety. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, food safety is everybody's business. Don't miss a bite of the action. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Join us on the next episode for Street Food Chronicles. Are you being jerked over?
Equality. There is no reason why I can't do what men always do. Split everything evenly. Jobs, salary, benefits, you name it. Why should men be taking the lead?
Well, that's easy to say when all the talk about equality begins and ends with big jobs, positions, and money. You ever heard men running down equality? Nope. We live well alone and know the roles are separate. Some things are equal and some just ain't. But how much hypocrisy is really in this equality argument? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic:
50-50 in everything is what we want.
Until here comes the bill.
50-50. Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness. Healthy people, healthy environment. Dewars. Here's to the story.
And Durex, distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy. Look for the Multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-link?
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
Good afternoon, listeners. Good afternoon, Cliff. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Good afternoon, Ricardo. And it's a busy Nationwide at 5 today. We have two general elections. We're watching for you. The polls have just closed or about to close in Trinidad and Tobago, and as well as in Canada. They have some more time to go. Canada is a vast country with several time zones, so the polls will close a little later. We're keeping our eyes on those two elections for you in Ghana, in Trinidad and Tobago, and Canada. But in Guyana, there's unrest this evening over the drowning, we're now being told, the death of a girl, and protests erupted in Ghana today. Roby and Williams has been tracking that for us. Roby?
Indeed. Good afternoon to our listeners or viewers over there in Guyana. It is such a sad situation unfolding. Earlier today, we were watching as residents challenged the police outside of the Georgetown Hospital. We saw them hurling stones and just about anything that they could find to throw at the police officers. We saw where the police fired several bullets, and these are rubber bullets, trying to control or disperse the crowd because there was a gathering outside of the Georgetown Hospital. They were anticipating the outcome of the autopsy. Just minutes ago, the father came out and he didn't accept the results, and we have a clip
of him. Yes.
Indeed.
Let's listen to that.
They say she drunk. Yeah. They say she, and there's no results for me. For me, there's no results. What does that mean that I'm drunk? There's no results. For the people that watch it, no results.
This has generated a lot of emotion and anger in Ghana. Give us a backstory to this, Ruby.
Indeed. So it started when the grandmother of the 11-year-old, her name is she's 11-year-old Andriana Young. The grandmother had sent her to a pool at a hotel to get a pool pass. However, when she didn't return, her grandmother sounded an alarm to see where she is to try and find her. However, they didn't find her on the day. A day after they found her her lifeless body floating in the pool. And subsequently, after viewing security cameras, the police came to the public to say that they saw her in an identifiable vehicle leaving the premises. And that triggered the protests that you're seeing, because the people of Guyana who are there, they're saying that the police came with a false report.
Listeners should also know that on the day that young Adriana was found floating in that pool, that irate citizens set fire to the hotel
Yes.
where she was found. Of course, they had conducted a very comprehensive sweep of the property. The police did, the pool, and the child's body was not seen at that time. As Robian just told you, the police initial story was that she was seen in an identifiable car. They have subsequently sort of retracted that. The president of Ghana, Irfan Ali, ordering independent pathologists into the country to do the autopsy, of course, because there are questions now as to what exactly happened to this young girl. They set fire to the hotel and also set fire to the home of the hotel owner. And this was an example of how social media activism can quickly spur action from citizens, because it was a call on social media for justice that caused citizens to quickly assemble in the way that they did, burn the hotel, and of course, as you're seeing this afternoon, not happy with the outcome of this pathology.
Thank you very much, Ruby. Keep on tracking it for us.
Indeed.
Yes. And of course, it's 20 minutes going up to 6 o'clock. In our cover story this afternoon, education, where several teachers here in Jamaica are voicing concerns regarding the passage of the long-awaited Jamaica Teaching Council bill. That's a JTC. This, despite the bill being passed in the upper house on Friday with support from both government and opposition senators. The concerns were shared during a Zoom meeting put on by the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, on Sunday.
Nationwide News has seen excerpts from that meeting. Shalois Michael has the story.
The Jamaica Teaching Council bill seeks to regulate the teaching profession. It was passed on Friday after languishing for more than 2 decades. But after years of being reviewed, shelved, and revised on numerous occasions, it appears some of the island's teachers are still not satisfied. This is despite their union, the JTA, making its own submissions on the bill. In Sunday's Zoom meeting, the educators posed several questions to the leadership of the JTA, which they said needed urgent clarity. Several of the questions concerned allowances and salaries, and whether the bill will affect those negotiations. Other educators questioned whether the bill will penalize those who were trained in a particular specialty but have not been teaching the subject. Other educators questioned if pre-trained teachers will still be able to teach once the bill is passed. One teacher in particular asked if the JTA can file an injunction to stop the progress of the bill until all the concerns are addressed. Another educator outrightly labeled the bill as an indirect form of taxation for teachers. Another chimed in, noting that the bill will not improve the country's education system. The questions were being answered by Dr. Mark Nicely, who's the JTA's Secretary General. He explained that the body is reviewing the bill and their suggestions are being noted. His attempts to soothe the teachers apparently fell on deaf ears. Nationwide News understands that a cadre of teachers had planned to gather today at the JTA headquarters on Church Street in Kingston in protest against the bill. But when our news team arrived, no one was there. Up to news time, efforts to get a comment from JTA President Dr. Mark Smith were unsuccessful. Debate on the JTC bill is expected to commence in the House next week. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Shaloy. And we're now being joined by the JTA President, Dr. Mark Smith. Good afternoon, Dr. Smith.
Good afternoon. Dr. Smith?
Good afternoon, Dr. Smith.
All right, no, not hearing him. And the obvious first question, Cliff, is what was the extent of the consultation with the members of the JTA, such that some of those, frankly, base questions could have been posed, because some of those questions suggest that the teachers had absolutely no idea what was in this bill.
Yes. I think we have Dr. Smith now. Good afternoon, Dr. Smith.
Good afternoon, Cliff. How are you doing?
We're good. What's gone wrong here? The teachers were not aware of the provisions and contents and implications of the bill after so many years, Dr. Smith?
Well, let me first of all thank you for inviting me to speak on this matter. The truth is, it has had an incredibly long gestation period, as you rightly put it, over 2 decades. And you can imagine many teachers have come and gone. There's approximately 25,000 public teachers, just under. And so it is quite believable that there may be many who have not kept engaged with the process, and they may have just heard about, some of the contents of the bill. As you know, social media has a way of engaging people in activism, and so I suspect that this is part of what you would have heard in our meeting.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair comment, Dr. Smith, but then it raises the question as to what was the level of engagement from the JTA in ensuring that its membership was aware of those provisions.
Well, I am proud to say that in 2022, under the presidency of Mr. Winston Smith, there was a committee put together by the JTA that made a presentation to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament, outlining our concerns and making significant recommendations to address what we thought were significant deficits within the overall draft of the bill. Some of those have been taken on, but there are a significant number that have not been tackled, and that is where we have great opposition. Outside that, there were consultations back then to apprise our membership of the concerns that we had, and we have been actively engaged in the process of, certainly under my presidency, of a consultation around the island. We have 4 regions. We have conducted consultations in 2. We have one on May 1st, and these are matters that are discussed at that level. Coming out of the meeting last night, and for anyone that was listening in, they would have understood that seemed to have dominated the discussion outside the other issues that we looked at. And so we decided to host a national forum on that. And to that end, we have also put together a committee that will be looking into the present revisions and putting the position with our lawyers on paper and going to our membership and asking them to review, and we have a robust discussions about how we move forward as a union, as we are quite strident and unapologetic in our belief that we have to tackle some of these concerns that we have and our members have.
But you accept that the consultations weren't widespread enough. If you have teachers asking, for example, if this amounts to a tax on teachers.
Well, as I said before, you will have people who are highly engaged and you have those who are less engaged. And I suspect some of those voices might have been individuals who have not been following. Remember, this is over a 20-year period. And so, the bill was sometimes in constant constant scrutiny by the media, by the public in general, by our teachers, and then it fell off the radar for some time. It came back up again, and I think that is kind of the ebb and flow of what you will find with engagement. I have no way of understanding if the teachers who spoke last night were teachers who were engaged from the very early onset of the policy and how long they've been in the profession. So I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but surely I believe it opens the opportunity for greater levels of engagement, because we want to ensure that our membership is fully apprised of what.
But can you assure that teacher this evening that it amounts to a tax or not?
Sorry, Cliff, I didn't get that. Could you please repeat?
Could you assure that teacher tonight that the provisions of the bill, yes, amount to a tax or not?
I'm going to answer in the part that in principle as a union, we support the idea of the establishment of the bill, it is a need for us to move towards a true professionalization of the teaching service by managing those individuals who are entering and leaving. However, we have to be absolutely clear that it cannot impinge on people's constitutional rights. It must be fair, it must be transparent, and it must be within its wording the opportunity for teachers to be able to practice practice without any hindrance. Those that have made that criteria. So it's really a nuanced response. We are concerned that there are elements within the provisions that we believe would impinge on a person's constitutional right. And I wanted to share with you, Cliff, one that...
I'm sorry, Dr. Smith. I don't think I heard an answer. I'm sorry, Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith?
Seems to... Hello?
Dr. Smith, I'm not sure I heard an answer to Cliff's question. You've read the...
I'm giving... No, I'm sorry. So
let me rephrase the question. So let me rephrase the question.
Yes or no.
Let me rephrase, Dr. Smith.
For instance, after
Dr. Smith, allow me to rephrase the question.
You would have been brought to your board.
Dr. Smith.
Something that we have highlighted in our presentation.
Dr. Smith.
The Joint Select Committee of Parliament is that once you have been...
It's a simple question, Dr. Smith. Does this bill amount to a tax or not?
The JTC bill empowers the council.
So you do not want to answer that question?
This is not in keeping with our best practices as it relates to...
Does it amount to a tax or not?
In some way,
that's a simple question.
So we have to be careful about that.
Yes.
We have been acquitted on a charge, and in that charge is...
But Dr. Smith...
We have significant concerns about that, and hence why I can't say yes or no.
No, but a tax...
To us as a union,
does it amount...
to use all the legal...
Do the provisions amount to a tax or not? That's a question.
Not all questions are as simple as a yes or no, Cliff. All right? So I would not characterize it as an attack.
No, I'm not talking about an attack. I said a tax. A tax. Do the provisions amount to being a tax on teachers or not?
Well, again, I'll give you another example. If you were to draw parallels with the nurses, and what exists within their regulations, Section 15(1)(a) of their offence, in the case where you have an offence, they are given, for instance, the first offence being $200,000, second offence being $400,000. In the Teaching Act, it's $500,000. And so, again, one may say, well, I think that is unnecessarily harsh. It's 500,000. It's not a tiered system like what we see with the nurses. And so, again, we have significant concerns, but I would not characterize it as an attack. All right, it's a piece of legislation.
You keep on saying attack.
I don't think he's hearing this. I don't think he's hearing this.
Dr. Smith, you keep on saying... Dr. Smith.
Best practice globally.
I don't think
he's hearing me.
Yeah. All right, so
let's take the break and come back.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.
The Temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken.
Burrata! Buy a 3-piece hat-trick meal and get an extra piece free for a limited time only.
It's 29 degrees Celsius here in Kingston. It's also 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Something good just got better. You now have more time to benefit from the NWC's Debt Amnesty Package, which has been extended for another 2 months. So, from now until May 31, find out if you qualify for a benefit under the amnesty. Don't delay. Let's hear from you today. Call 888-225-5692 or visit a commercial office. The NWC Debt Amnesty, a part of our bucket full of goodies.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall. Our Total Tools. Beat waka figure trim the lawn. We have everything your job demand. Total Tools. We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, or Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option. Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slive Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, St. Anne's Bay. Call us today.
The future is here. Meet your new best friend, the Samsung Galaxy S25. Unlock your true potential with this powerful but sleek AI companion. The S25 has exciting features such as the enhanced AI and camera. Let's transform the future together. Ask about our trade-in, smart payment, and insurance protection plans. Get yours today at select digital stores, Crossroads, Tropical Plaza, Spanish Town, downtown, and also available at the SMS store, 12 Ruthven Road, Kingston 10. SMS Group is your gateway to technology.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes.
And just to clarify, listeners, we had with us the JTA President, Dr. Mark Smith. He says he wasn't hearing us. The question was whether it amounted to a tax.
As one of the teachers
did say in that meeting. We have with us now the Education Minister, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon. So let me ask her. Minister, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you all?
Doing well. How are you?
I am good. A little disappointed in what I just heard, but I'm good.
So let me ask you, because the teachers were raising several questions to the leadership of the JTA, and one of the questions that stood out to us here was that one teacher was concerned that the provisions of the bill amount to a tax, TAX, on teachers. Any truth to that?
I don't see anything in this bill that amounts to a tax. And I have been through this bill multiple times. I piloted it through the Senate. I was a teacher before, and I would never be putting through a bill that would disadvantage any teacher. The bill is very clear. It is about professionalizing the profession of teaching. We're saying you can't just get up and say that you're a teacher. You have to be trained, and you need to be licensed. And we all know in Jamaica, we've all said it, that one of the key problems plaguing our country is the outcomes of our children. And in order for us to fix that, we're going to have to increase our standards in relation to the teaching profession. And we have excellent teachers already there. But what we're saying is we need to formalize this. And this isn't just me saying it. If we look at when this whole notion of a JTC came into effect, it was when P.J. Patterson named the Davis Report, that team, that commission that looked at education, what was wrong in there. One of their key recommendations was that we needed to have a Jamaica Teaching Council bill. 6 ministers later, we finally have this bill. For 20 years, we've been consulting on this bill. This bill is not something that was just done in secret. 20 years of consultation.
And Minister,
the last okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because that 20-year delay, gestation period, it sounds incredible to me. 6 ministers later, why did it take 2 decades to finally pass a piece of legislation in the Senate?
You know, a piece of legislation like this, you have to consult. And I think every administration, whether it was a JLP administration or a PNP administration, was very committed to consultation. And so we had consultations with the JTA, consultations with many others. And so over time, you had different iterations of the bill based on consultation. And what's really important is that over the last 2 years, not 20 years ago, over the last 2 years, 45 Joint Select Committee meetings were held. Every single one of those Joint Select Committee meetings were aired live on PBCJ and repeated multiple times and carried in the news multiple times. So everybody was a part of this. The JTA and their committee, they presented to the Joint Select Committee, and they said what the teachers wanted and so on, and those were incorporated in the bill. If you look even at the board for the JTC, there are 31 members of that board, which I think is crazy. But that came out of a lot of lobbying by the JTA to have their members there. So if you read the bill, the members of the board, 6 of them are appointed by the union that represents the majority of teachers. In Jamaica, that's the JTA. So they're all over this bill. So it's a little bit surprising that they haven't done the work with their membership to keep them up to date on what they're saying with us. When I did the opening of the debate, the JTA president was there with me in the Senate. This is not something that was done in the dark. So it's very surprising to me. And it's a great piece of legislation. And I really implore the teachers to read it. If JTA isn't giving them the details, I will give them. Because I can speak about it, and I will speak about it. Because it is really a good bill. There are areas in there, I know, where there's some concerns about, do we have to pay to be licensed? Just noting, for all the teachers listening, if you're already a teacher and you're licensed, you continue in the framework going forward. We know that in the past, when we were going to school, when we were younger, not every teacher had gone to teachers' college. And they did a great job with us. But over time, things have changed, and we know the world has changed, and we want the best students possible out there. And our teachers have done tremendous work going to teachers' colleges. So many of them have master's degrees and PhDs. They are doing fantastic things in their education.
On that point, Minister, one of the things that kept coming up in the meeting, will pre-trained teachers still be able to teach once the bill is passed by the House?
Absolutely. There is a concept in the bill called authorization to teach. That will take care of the pre-trained teachers. I was a pre-trained teacher. I got special permission to teach because I didn't have a teaching diploma, but I taught in high school. And so that continues just under a new language called authorization to teach, and it gives the pre-trained teacher an approval for 2 years. It can be renewed 3 times up to 6 years. But you expect that if they're going to stay in the classroom, they'd want to go and get their teaching diploma. But all of that is in the bill there. So that doesn't change at all. And remember, everybody's grandfathered in. So everybody who is there in the system will move over in this new dispensation. And the law is very clear, too, that it will not be for another 2 years. So whenever the law comes into effect, it would be 2 years before teachers are required to be registered. There are a lot of loopholes, and that was also from the lobbying of the JTA.
We are out of time, Minister. It was passed in the Senate last Friday with bipartisan support. It now goes back to the House. Yes? For what, finally?
So what happens is, because I'm the minister and I'm in the Senate, I would take it in the Senate first. Usually the bills will start in the House and then come to the Senate. But we've done it the other way around because that's where I am. And so we did it in the Senate, we passed it there, and then it will have to be passed. So they would do a debate in the House and pass it there, and then it can become law.
All right. So the time for consultation is over.
Well, it seems there might need to be more consultation.
Explaining, and I can explain. As you've asked me the question, there's nothing in this bill I can't explain. And everything in this bill was debated. A lot of people presented, including the JTA, including the Homeschool Association, including the universities, the Teachers Colleges Association, the faith-based or religious groups came and presented in this. So this has taken on the views of a wide range of people. And I think it really represents a good middle ground for us saying to our teachers, you're valuable and your profession must be protected.
Minister Dana Morris-Dixon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It's a minute after 6. We are watching for you the general elections in Trinidad and Tobago, the federal elections in Canada, 41 parliamentary seats, yes, Cliff?
In Trinidad and
the
Tobago.
Twin Island Republic, yes.
Going into today, the PNM went in with 22 and the opposition with 19.
Kamla Persad-Bissessar is hoping to unseat Stuart Young and return to government. She's 72 years old, I believe. 72?
About that.
Yeah, and Stuart Young is just about 50. He came to the helm of the PNM about 3 months ago, thereabout, replacing Dr. Keith Rowley. The polls, or certainly a poll done by The Guardian, suggested that the opposition leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, would emerge victorious. We're watching and waiting for results. The polls have been closed now for about 2 hours.
5 o'clock our time, just about an hour.
Right. So as soon as we have some numbers, we'll bring them to you. And of course, seeing what happens in Canada.
Yep.
As to whether the anti-incumbent mood that gripped the world last year will continue.
That's it for the cover story. The headlines are next with Nora Gay Banton.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
3 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Norige Banton. Clear lines are emerging this afternoon as civil society group Jamaicans for Justice gets ready to take to the streets of the corporate area to protest against an increase in police fatal shootings. 106 Jamaicans have been killed by the security forces since the start of the year. That's a more than 100% increase in police killings. This has prompted an outcry from the prominent civil society group. They're urging Jamaicans to wear black tomorrow to voice their dissatisfaction with the increase in fatal shootings. But the governing Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, and corporate heavyweight Fontana Pharmacy are throwing their support behind the men and women of law enforcement. They're urging Jamaicans to wear blue and stand with the police. The JFJ's End Police Violence protest is in response to an increase in police fatal shootings since this year. Government Senator Marlon Morgan says Jamaicans must stand in solidarity with the JCF.
While the JCF and its members are not above criticism, at a time when Jamaica is registering historic and welcomed reductions in murders and other major crimes, the interest of the country will be better served by constructively criticizing the police instead of tearing them down. I am urging well-thinking and law-abiding Jamaicans to rally behind the police and motivate them by wearing blue on Tuesday, April 29. At the same time, I'm imploring the public to shun actions and utterances that may serve to demoralize and demotivate our policemen and women.
The JCF has noted that it will monitor the protest as a precautionary measure. And corporate heavyweight Fontana Pharmacy has encouraged all its staff members to wear blue in solidarity with the men and women of the JCF who wear predominantly blue denim uniforms. Kevin O'Brien Chang is Fontana's chairman.
Fontana Pharmacy is fully on board with Wear Blue on April 29 to support our brave policemen and women who risk their lives daily to protect innocent Jamaicans. I hope all Jamaicans will do this to support, as I say, the people who make us a civilized country. Where would we be without the police? And how can we not support their courage? So all Jamaica, let us make it a sea of blue on April 29 to show our gratitude to those who keep this country free from crime.
Kevin O'Brien Chang, chairman of Fontana Pharmacy. Meanwhile, executive director at Jamaicans for Justice, Michael Jackson, is urging participants in Tuesday's protest to maintain peace and abide by the law.
We have articulated to everybody that we've invited on our social media post that this is a peaceful protest. And that is why on the flyer, you see that being the biggest font size because we respect law and order. Public safety must be maintained, and anybody coming out in support of JFJ and the call that is being made must respect that. We've heard that there's going to be some counter-protest, and I would hope that those who are doing the counter-protest would respect law and order as well and be peaceful in whatever engagements you're doing.
Michael Jackson, executive director at JFJ. She was speaking on the JFJ-produced show Let's Talk Justice, aired on Nationwide 90 FM on Monday. Councillor for the Tivoli Gardens Division in West Kingston, Donovan Samuels, says the Social Security Ministry is set to visit the 4 families left homeless in the Charles Street area of West Kingston on Monday. Among the 4 families are 12 adults and 4 children.
We have made contact with the Social Security Ministry, and they are putting. They haven't been there yet. They should be coming in early tomorrow morning. The residents who have been displaced will have to just make themselves comfortable tonight, and then tomorrow morning we come in with whatever assistance can be offered at this time. That is where we are now, but the information has been passed on to the Social Security personnel, and then tomorrow now we knock heads together so best we can treat with everybody and everything at the same time.
Donovan Samuels, councillor for the Tivoli Gardens Division in West Kingston. Residents were alerted to the fire sometime after 8 a.m. The fire reportedly started on Charles Street and spread to Luke Street, gutting the houses built of mainly plywood and zinc. Lining the sidewalk further down the road were pieces of furniture, gas cylinders, a refrigerator, and 2 mattresses that residents were able to pull from the burning dwellings. According to the Jamaica Fire Brigade, preliminary reports have revealed $10 million in losses so far. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay. Banton Sports is next.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
Oh, what is the
For more
on TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait. I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. There are 3 pieces of business to be sorted on what is expected to be a tantalizing final day of the league season in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League on Sunday. The battle for the last playoff spot is a straight fight between Waterhouse and Tivoli. They're both on 55 points, but Tivoli, they hold a slight advantage because they have a superior goal difference at the minute. Now, on the final day of the league season, Tivoli will host Montego Bay United at the Edward Seaga Complex, while Waterhouse will visit Dunby Holden. The Tivoli-Mobay game could also have implications on the second automatic semi-final qualifiers because Mobay on 75 points will need to win to make sure, as a third place Arnett Gardens are just 2 points behind, and they'll host Harbourview on the final day. At the other end of the table, one of Molynes United, Humber Lion or Chapelton Maroons will join Vere United as relegated teams. Molynes are on 35 points and will be safe if they beat champions Cavalier. A draw could do it if other results go their way. Chapelton will visit Vere, where a victory will keep them in the league for next season, while Humber Lion will be home to Mount Pleasant on the last day and must win and hope other results go their way. The Jamaica Titans will be back in action in the West Indies Breakout T20 League on Tuesday. The Titans will face off with the Guyana Rainforest Rangers at the Brian Lara Stadium starting at 1 p.m. Jamaica time. This will be the Titans' second game at the tournament following their 6-wicket defeat to the Leeward Islands Thunder last Saturday. In the second game on Tuesday, the Barbados Pelicans will square off with the Windward Islands Infernos, and that game will bowl off at 6 Jamaica time. The BCCI, that's the Board of Control for Cricket in India, is actively considering expanding the IPL season to 94 matches from 2028, but has no plans to introduce new franchises in the near future. The league expanded to its current 74-match format in 2022, following the sale of the Gujarat Titans and the Lucknow Super Giants franchises. Initial plans to grow to 84 matches for 2025 were delayed owing to a scheduling crunch around the tournament's window and the broadcasters' aversion to too many doubleheaders, but expansion remains on the table in the medium term. The IPL's window in the Future Tours program are locked in for the next 2 years, running from mid-March until the end of May. But Aaron Dumal, the IPL's chairman, said that BCCI will seriously consider an expansion to a full home and away 94-match format for the next media rights cycle, which will start in 2028. The duration of the IPL's window will form part of the discussions next year when boards thrash out the details of the next FTP, that's Futures Tour program. Officials at multiple franchises said they would prefer a 94-match season, but an increase would likely depend on broadcaster interests. TV and streaming numbers typically drop midway through the IPL season, which broadcasters privately attribute to viewer fatigue. The 2025 edition will stretch to 9 weeks, 12 doubleheaders scheduled, and an increase to a full home and away season would likely require 2 more weeks in the international calendar. Rajasthan Royals' 14-year-old batter Yabhav Suryavanshi made history as the youngest player to hit a century in the men's T20 cricket. Suryavanshi pushed Rashid Khan to 6 to bring up the second fastest 100 in the Indian Premier League and fastest by an Indian player from 35 balls. The teenager smashed 7 fours and 11 sixes before he was eventually bowled for a stunning 101 from just 38 balls as the Royals rummed to an 8-wicket win over the Gujarat Titans. Suryavanshi, who only turned 14 last month and was signed at last year's auction for almost £220,000, became the youngest player to feature in the IPL earlier in April and made an immediate impact by hitting his first ball for 6. He showed all of that same swagger in Jaipur as he dismantled the Gujarat attack to ensure Rajasthan made light work of a chase of 210. Assistant coach of Jamaica's team to the recent Carifta Swimming Championships, Lemon Lowe, says if Jamaica is to conquer the region in swimming, there's still a lot more work to be done. Jamaica's 30-member team ended the tournament in second spot on the points table with 795.5 points. The Bahamas topped both the points and medal table with 979 points and 74 medals to retain the title. Jamaica finished with 21 gold, 19 silver and 16 bronze for a total of 56 medals. Speaking on Sports Nation Live on Saturday, Lowe says Jamaica will have to improve greatly if they are to contest for major honors.
Bahamas have it over everybody else in the Caribbean, where they're in every final, every event with which at least 2-1 swimmer. So they load it. And what happens is that it makes it difficult to beat a team like that if you're not doing the same thing. Going forward, we realize where our gaps are, and as coaches, we realize that we have to take back that now to the club level and help the club level coaches to realize that we need more 200 breast swimmers, we need more 200 back, more 400 IM, and these are the areas that we weren't so strong in. And if we can get the younger ones to get into the habit of swimming those events, then we can compete.
Lemon Lowe. Sports analyst Leighton Levy says he would be very surprised if anyone has a problem with the squad, which was recently named to represent Jamaica at the 7th World Relays in Guangzhou, China, May 10 and 11. The 31-member squad includes Shelley and Fraser Price, Sherika Jackson, and Kishane Thompson.
When we look at the squad overall, it is perhaps the strongest it can be. Primarily, the only person I can see missing, hypothetically, would be Elaine Thompson-Herah, and she hasn't run in more than a year, so we don't know what she would come with. But in terms of the squad itself, Sherika Jackson and Shelley and Fraser represent 2 of the big 3. The Clayton twins represent the next part of the next generation, Alana Reid as well, and Crystal Slowly, Natasha Morrison. I mean, you're looking at potentially Jamaica's strongest squad, barring the absence of Elaine Thompson-Herah.
Leighton Levy. The other members of the squad are Nisha Berger, Tina and Tia Clayton, Serena Cole, Natasha Morrison, Alana Reid and Crystal Slowly for the women's sprint relay. For the men, it's Ewan Blake, Akeem Blake, Rashid Foster, Brian Lavelle, Julian Ford, Javari Thomas, and Rohan Watson. On the women's side for the 4x4, Kellyanne Beckford, Renisha McGregor, Shine Salmon, Rhonda White, Jodine Williams, Stacey and Williams. And for the men, Rasheed McDonald, Javier Brown, Zandrian Barnes, DeMar Francis, Malik James King, Therese Roden, and Delano Kennedy that complete the squad. And finally in sports at this time, a national power outage stopped play at the Madrid Open with Britain's Jacob Fernley among those forced off court. Fernley had saved the match point in his third round encounter against the Bulgarian Grigor Dimitrov and was about to serve to stay in the match at 6-4, 5-4 down when play was suspended on the main court. The power cut meant the electronic line calling system, which has replaced line judges and scoreboards, stopped working. After a brief delay, the umpire announced play would restart with him making line calls in place of the system. Yeah, it's a third country, major country that happened to. In fact, yeah, that was in Spain, and it also happened simultaneously in Portugal as well, and it went out for hours. And the power is back now, I think. All right, that will do it for sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612 to 5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
The kitchen isn't just a room. It's where life happens, where meals are made, stories are shared, and memories take shape. At Active Home Center, we help you design a kitchen that works for you. Stylish cabinets, top quality appliances, stunning countertops, sleek faucets, sinks, and cabinet poles. Everything in one place. Sit with our experienced kitchen experts and bring your dream kitchen to life. Your dream kitchen starts here. Visit us in Kingston at 84 Constant Spring Road. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
New KFC saucy wings. Attention all wings lovers. KFC saucy wings with 2 new flavors. Mango habanero and buffalo. Spicy. KFC we have saucy wings. Delicious. Spicy the best. So a new KFC saucy wings crunch the rest. Nobody does wings like KFC. New saucy wings is for me.
New KFC saucy wings. Delicious, hot, and spicy wings tossed in savory mango habanero or buffalo sauce. Wings that will crunch the rest. New KFC saucy wings. It's finger licking good.
Calling all golfers! The 3rd annual Stories to Create charity golf tournament is happening on July 19 at the Constant Spring Golf Course, and you don't want to miss it. Come out and compete in 8 exciting challenges, from longest drive to beat the pro. And yes, you'll get your shot at $5 million in the hole-in-one contest. Prizes, surprises, and a powerful cause supporting youth and storytelling programs through EHAS Inc. Register now and swing with purpose. Visit ehasinc.org or email info@ehasinc.org and we'll see you on the green.
Equality. There is no reason why I can't do what men always do. Split everything evenly. Jobs, salary, benefits, you name it. Why should men be taking the lead?
Well, that's easy to say when all the talk about equality begins and ends with big jobs, positions, and money. You ever heard men running down equality? Nope. We live well alone and know the roles are separate. Some things are equal and some just ain't. But how much hypocrisy is really in this equality argument? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic:
50-50 in everything is what we want.
Until here comes the bill.
50-50. Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. The Ministry of Health and Wellness. Healthy people, healthy environment. Dewars. Here's to the story. And Durex. Distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited. Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robian Williams. It's a Monday evening, a start. Well, yeah, the morning gone already, but a start to the new week. And I hope it has been great for you so far. All the revelers from yesterday who won with yourself, I hope y'all did some work today. Yeah? Been a bad mind. A special good evening to our friends over on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion, right? Clear lines are emerging this afternoon as civil society group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, yes,
gets ready to take to the streets of the corporate area to protest against an increase in police fatal shootings. Now, 106 Jamaicans have been killed by the security forces since the start of the year. That's a more than 100% increase in police killings. This has prompted an outcry from the prominent civil society group, and they're urging Jamaicans to wear black tomorrow to voice their dissatisfaction with the increase in fatal shootings. Executive Director at JFJ, Michael Jackson, she's urging participants in tomorrow's protest to maintain peace and abide by the law.
We have articulated to everybody that we've invited on our social media post that this is a peaceful protest. And that is why on the flyer, you see that being the biggest font size, because we respect law and order. Public safety must be maintained, and anybody coming out in support of JFJ and the call that is being made must respect that. We've heard that there's going to be some counter-protest, and I would hope that those who are doing the counter-protest would respect law and order as well, and be peaceful in whatever engagements you're doing.
All right, so that's Michael Jackson, Executive Director at JFJ, speaking on the JFJ-produced show Let's Talk Justice, aired on Nationwide 90 FM on Monday. But there's a flip to it now. The governing Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, and corporate heavyweight Fontana Pharmacy are throwing their support behind the men and women of law enforcement. They, on the other hand, are urging Jamaicans to wear blue and stand with the police. Yeah? Let's see what will happen. In public opinion this evening, we're asking, on Tuesday, will you be wearing black to support JFJ or blue to support the JCF? I'll start right away with the comments. There are a lot of comments on our social media platforms, X, Facebook, Instagram, so bear with me if I don't get through it all. I beg you, don't come at me. All right, I'll start on Instagram, where Wealth Garth is saying blue. Ross Clooney, blue. When I am sleeping, the police are out there protecting us. Sabrina saying, I'm wearing Spice full outfit tomorrow from head to toe, blue, in support of the police. Them in support of the police. Them, yeah. Them. She said Team Squaddy. I'm seeing a lot of blue hearts coming from Blessed. Jet Slate say, make JFJ go sit down. Okay. Blue coming from Charla. Yeah. All right. Seeing blue. I will be wearing black. All right. Michael Morrison, here's a differing view, and we welcome it. Michael Morrison is saying, I will be wearing black for the citizens killed by gunmen, and blue celebrating the reduction in crime by our hard-working security forces and the investment by the government. York Rich saying, I'm not supporting any of them. For bad English, according to him, a sea of blue all over Jamaica tomorrow. Boss Lady, I see your blue hearts. Also, Mahalia Brown, I'm seeing your blue hearts. Nope, what color did they ask us to wear when these criminals killing off innocent people? Seeing blue all over is a daily. Jared, all blue all over. Massacre Sinner, okay, seems to not be in the know, is asking what are the colors regarding. Let me see if I can get in some more. Blue, a pure blue. Pure blue. Seeing blue. I'm just scrolling through and I'm seeing blue. All right, so it's safe to say our Instagram followers, some of them who commented on our public opinion question, true blue. All right, and I mean that in just not the literal sense, you know. I know JC uses that. All right, to the comments now on Facebook. On Tuesday, will you be wearing black to support JFJ or blue to support the JCF? Marcia Lewis saying, blue me aware, law and order affirmating. Oral is saying, I am standing with the JCF, no political distraction. Paulette is saying, blue of course. Maury McCarth, I'm wearing blue in full support of the men and women who are keeping law-abiding citizens safe. Salome Paul saying, blue, communities have been torn apart, children fatherless and motherless, parents without children at the hands of criminals. Definitely blue. Hopeton Cranston, I certainly will be wearing blue to support the JCF to continue their fight against crime. I'm seeing 100% blue all the way coming from Barbara. Nayoka, blue from head to toe. Let me see. Shins for Life Law saying, I won't be there, but from many thousand miles away, I will be supporting the men and women in blue who are trying their very best to solve Jamaica's biggest problems, called crime and murderers. Yeah. David Blessing, blue. All right. I'm seeing a lot of blue over here on Facebook. Audrey Allen is saying, while some killing, okay, let's get it right. While some police killings sound very ridiculous, we must admit that the criminal elements among us has gotten very vicious, callous, and you name it. Hence, in order for the JCF to serve and protect law-abiding citizens, they have to lay those hoodlums low. Therefore, I have to support the men and women in blue. That's coming from Audrey Allen. Yeah. Seeing blue all the way down. I'm seeing blue. Disrespect the color black. All right. Won't say the rest of that. Bad English, so I'll be wearing blue to show my support for JCF 100%. I truly appreciate the work they're doing. I'm seeing blue, full blue from Annette. Audrey Smith, win, lose, or draw. I will stand by the JCF, right, left, and center. Blue all the way. All right. So it's safe to say over on Facebook, blue. All right, let me see if I can quickly go to X real quick, not staying long because I need my YouTubers to know that I value them. Honorable Sally Porteous is saying, I will be proud to wear blue tomorrow in support of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Graham Jervis saying blue. Andre Lawrence saying to us, I'm proud to stand with the brave men and women of the JCF who risk their lives every day to protect and serve us. This Tuesday, I'll be wearing blue to show my respect for their sacrifice, dedication, and the critical role they play in keeping our country safe. All right, we are not going back. Took a picture of her blue nails. Wow. All right. Let me see if I can go to our YouTubers now. Coming at you. I'm seeing a lot of blue emojis. Blue hearts. Yeah. Paul Peart says Jamaica blue. Paul Stevenson said green and blue. Jacqueline Thomas, I see you. Blue. You know, Cliff did say a word this morning. Blue that. Blue that. Jacqueline Thomas is saying she's wearing a blue that. Yeah. Facts is saying time too hot for black. I'd rather stay true and wear blue with a bag of hearts. A bag of blue hearts. Straight blue line, says Chrisani Taylor. Yeah. Blue. Okay, Jacqueline. Yes, I see. It's going to be a blue day tomorrow. All right. So people listening in Radio Land, the YouTube full of blue. Yeah. I am only seeing blue hearts. Wow. Yeah. Andrea Henry says, I am wearing peace and love from Canada. All right, Andrea Henry. Team Blue says, Howie. Anthony says, back the blue. Thank you, JCF. Marlene P says, no color around here. Yeah? No color around here. Are you saying neutral? Is that what you're saying, Marlene P? Or just no color entirely? Melbourne is saying blue, blue, blue. Yeah? And guys, let me see if I can get in some more. Petrona Smith is saying, I will be wearing blue in support of JCF. Cheerful Bird says, blue, we say, whether here or there. Yeah, Carlene Smith's asking, what about blue and black for tomorrow? Both groups have something to support. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some. Yeah, I read that one already. I'm seeing a lot of blue people. It is hard to see beyond the blue right here. Angela Ellis saying, police me say, Coffee Jam say blue and peace. God bless. I don't know. Oh, you have to say me not see right when I'm here see with me two. Well, my two eyes. But yes. Sharon Bless is wondering what color the opposition will be wearing. Jack Wilson says we must support the JCF and take back our country from the gangs. Let's see. MJM saying, why must it be either or and not a both and. We need both to maintain accountability. Loved the differing views. Electro Squad says phone case, headphones, ID, everything blue, says Electro Squad. Philip Jackson says all who wearing black is for criminals. Wow, Philip Jackson. Shane Mark says I standing with the JFJ. Yes, Shane Mark here saying I standing with the JFJ. Blue all the way coming from Donna Thompson. Yeah. Reasonable Thinker says blue, the JFJ fast becoming unpopular. Just like, I won't say that. All right. Claude West says the whole Jamaica turn college men tomorrow. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of blue. Yeah. Radley, or is this? Yes. Radley Boy is saying the interesting thing is that plenty people will be in black tomorrow. Okay. I'm sure. Okay. I'm seeing a Black Heart. Black Heart coming from Shane Mark saying JFJ. Yeah. Right. Everything blue I'm seeing in the US, but will be in my blue. Donning my blue says Ronald Grant. Yeah. Wow. All right. Sharon bless me for make sure say my blue clean. What is that you're telling me, Sharon? What is that? I'm coming in white. Yeah. Andrea Henry says both sides must be heard respectfully. Yeah. All right. On that note, I'll end right there, getting the wrap up signal from Bugs. Yeah. We'll see what happened tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Yeah. All right. The business report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:35. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. The UK Chancellor has told the BBC that the UK's trade relationship with the EU is arguably more important than the one it has with the US. Rachel Reeves suggested that moving closer to the EU on trade was a bigger priority, despite her current focus on talks with the US. After her meeting with the US Treasury Secretary on Friday, Reeves tweeted that both the UK and US want a deal that is in both their national interests. Now, earlier this week, she signaled the UK would could lower tariffs on US car imports from their current 10% to 2.5% as part of a wider deal. The UK is preparing for a summit with the EU in May in an attempt to reset the relationship between the two. DHL has lifted a suspension it had imposed on deliveries worth more than $800 to the U.S. after negotiating adjustments to customs rules. Earlier this month, the delivery giant said it had stopped such shipments to U.S. shoppers until further notice due to a significant increase in red tape from President Donald Trump's tariff policies. But DHL has now lifted the suspension after constructive dialogue between the delivery industry and the U.S. government. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 29 cents to buy $1 US, 211 Jamaican dollars and 51 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 115 Jamaican dollars and 14 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Have a wonderful evening.
Since the month of January 2025, the Spanish Town Depot has started 5 new routes in Clarendon.
The new JUTC route is a game changer. It's affordable, comfortable, and so convenient. I can get to and from work, no hassle.
The government, I look out for it.
We're grateful here at Chapelton
for JUTC to extend their service to us, where our students can come to school and go home safely in nice, clean, comfortable environments.
I am grateful for the JUTC bus because it is safe and it is even safe for the students to travel.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
Celebrate Mom with the Jamaica Observer's For Moms Mother's Day promotion. Win big for mom with a $50,000 cash prize, appliances, gift certificates, movie passes, and more. Just spend $6,000 or more with your multi-link card. Grab the Daily Observer, complete the entry form, and submit it with your receipt. 4 lucky moms will win. Enter by May 16th and make this Mother's Day unforgettable. See the Jamaica Observer for more details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Big news! The Big Bite Food Safety Show now airs on Nationwide 90 FM with your host, Alison Richards, the Food Safety Girl. Join Alison every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. as she serves up expert advice, tips, and insights on everything food safety. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, food safety is everybody's business. Don't miss a bite of the action. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Join us on the next episode for Street Food Chronicles. Are you being jerked over?
Equality. There is no reason why I can't do what men always do. Split everything evenly. Jobs, salary, benefits, you name it. Why should men be taking the lead?
Well, that's easy to say when all the talk about equality begins and ends with big jobs, positions, and money. You ever heard men running down equality? Nope. We live well alone and know the roles are separate. Some things are equal and some just ain't. But how much hypocrisy is really in this equality argument? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic:
50-50 in everything is what we want.
Until here comes the bill.
50-50.
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. The Ministry of Health and Wellness. Healthy people, healthy environment. Dewars. Here's to the story. And Durex. Distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM on Tuesday, April 29 from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the live sectoral presentation by the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang. Also, you can view the presentation on Nationwide 90 FM's YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2. So tune in to Nationwide 90 FM on Tuesday, April 29 from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's the live sectoral presentation by the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is sponsored by the Ministry of National Security.
This time signal is sponsored by Janet Global Accreditation, an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. The time is now
6:43. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you've been with us since 5 o'clock, hello to you as well. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes.
It's time for the nation's business. In the nation's business this evening, the business of Trinidad and Tobago, the Twin Island Republic. The polls are now closed. 1,154,708 citizens were eligible to vote in the country's general elections. The polls closed 6 p.m. Trinidad time. That was 5 o'clock here in Jamaica. Voters in Trinidad are electing 41 members to the House of Representatives, the Red House. Senior broadcast journalist at CCN TV 6, Alicia Boucher, says citizens are focused primarily on crime and the cost of living.
Well, one of the major issues I think that people are voting on would be crime in the country. We have had the murder rate this year has been a bit lower than it was in 2024, which would have recorded one of the highest, if not the highest murder rate that the country has had thus far, right? But, I would note that there was a state of emergency called this year, and that state of emergency came to an end. I believe it was, I don't want to give a date, but it wasn't too long ago that state of emergency came to an end. And of course, that happened due to the crime situation. So that is one of the major issues. I would say that another issue would be the high cost of living against the backdrop of, the lower population in terms of financial resources. So that would be another issue that people are voting on. If I had to summarize it, I would say those two stand out.
Ms. Boucher, speaking with our news center just under an hour ago, said the race is still too close to call between the governing People's National Movement of Prime Minister Stuart Young and the main opposition United National Congress, UNC, led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Polls have not too long closed, and we would have to wait a while for those results to start to come in to see, in which direction those results are heading. I would say that it would definitely be too soon to say at this point, in one direction or another, but based on, analysts and what we're seeing on the ground, many believe that it is going to be a very, very close election. And for a very long time, if not for the first time, we have quite a number of political parties. We have a number of parties contesting even in the marginal constituencies. So there have been, I would say, suggestions or analysis that would even help to split votes in those already marginal constituencies further. But as in which direction that will go, I think that is left to be seen, and we would find out a bit later on as those numbers begin to come in.
Alicia Boucher, senior broadcast journalist at CCN TV 6. And
before you go to that next clip, Cliff, we really should be thankful for our ECJ here and how we conduct things. Because at
6:47 by now, we would be here.
45 minutes
we will be getting early results, certainly from the corporate area seats, St. Catherine seats, some Clarendon seats, and we would be picking up a very early indication of where the election is going.
Yeah, and we're learning that it could take another 1 to 2 hours before preliminary results start coming out of the Twin Island Republic. And I recall the last election Barbados had.
Mhm.
And that was truly surprising to me considering the population size. It took Barbados until the next day
Mhm.
to declare a winner.
We're quite some distance ahead of the rest of the Caribbean in terms of
We've been spoiled.
conducting.
We have, and we should be grateful and thankful
Yes.
for how we've been able to do business here in
Yeah,
Jamaica.
by it's what, 12 minutes to 7 on election evening, we would be saying, well, party A or party B is leading in 3 or 4 seats or 7 seats, and we would be picking up a trend, in terms of the early results.
So we have results from a single seat now, our producer is telling us. The PNM is leading in Tobago West. Yes, and that's a seat they currently hold. I believe they have the 2 seats in Tobago. Okay, so here's some more from this report from CNC3 TV. Their 7 o'clock newscast. That was 6 p.m. Jamaica time.
The People's National Movement and more importantly Prime Minister Stuart Young is seeking to make history here. He was appointed this country's Prime Minister when his predecessor Dr. Keith Rowley resigned, and now he is looking for the mandate from the electorate. Now polls closed at 6 p.m. and there are no supporters here just yet, but as things set up and as things progress, we will bring you updates on the situation here in Port of Spain. Until then, it's Doris Polo for CNC3 News in the capital.
Well, you'll be seeing and hearing more from Doris in our election night show, Battle for Power, hosted by Kijan Haynes and Akash Samaru. That show begins immediately after this newscast. And as we mentioned before, the UNC had numerous complaints about the electoral process. Let's head to the UNC's headquarters, where senior reporter Jesse Ramdale is standing by. Jesse?
Good evening, Ria, and our viewers. It's buzzing here at the UNC's headquarters in Chaguanas, both inside and outside. The mood, it's a curious cocktail of nerves, nostalgia, and optimism. We know that the polls across Trinidad and Tobago, they've already closed, and the preliminary data, the preliminary numbers from the Elections and Boundaries Commission, they'll begin to trickle in. Of course, there's a lot of anticipation towards that development, but as mentioned before, it's a hive of activities taking place. UNC supporters are beginning to arrive, of course, donning their yellow t-shirts, their UNC bandanas, rags, and flags in hand, and it's all lending to the atmosphere that is expected to swell here this evening. I would have spoken to a couple UNC supporters earlier today. They indicated that there's a level of hope for them. They're satisfied, confident, and happy with the campaign that the UNC ran throughout the last 5 weeks or so. They believe that the party would have done just enough to wrestle the 2025 general election away from the People's National Movement. And as the supporters make their way across the perimeter of the compound, you can really tell that they're wearing that hope on their face and carrying it in their heart. For them, victory is in the air. And of course, we are stationed here at the headquarters throughout the entire proceeding. We're locked in just as much as they are, as the results are set to come in, and we will continue to keep you posted. Reporting from UNC headquarters in Chaguanas, I'm Jesse Ramdale. It's back to you.
That report there from CNC3 TV. Of course, Trinidad and Tobago, by population size, and I suppose you'd say by prominence and power in CARICOM, would, I dare say, I hesitate to say, but I'll say it, would rank second to Jamaica in terms of power. So we have to focus on what happens in the Twin Island Republic. And also, Cliff, I am interested to see whether that trend that we saw last year will continue. The anti-incumbent trend.
Yes.
Of course, the PNM is swimming against a tide. Serious crimes on the increase. They had a state of emergency recently, and concerns about the cost of living, the impact of Donald Trump's moves internationally affecting
the economy slowing,
cancelling that agreement to extract Venezuelan, to sell oil to Venezuela, I believe it was. Right. So several things affecting the PNM government, and it's to be seen.
Rowley leaving. Yes.
Absolutely.
Although he's still the political leader of the PNM. So they have gone into the elections on the defense. Yes. And Kamla Persad is a very, very experienced politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she's been prime minister before, she's been opposition leader before, and she knows the politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so the UNC would have gone in, with some momentum. And according to the few polls they have done, she was leading in all of them, some by double digits, some by single digit points. We know we have a few of our pollsters in Trinidad and Tobago at this hour. Yes, I won't call any names, but I know at least one of our pollsters is in Trinidad doing polling for the elections.
Any word on what they're seeing?
According to them, they feel that it will be Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissessar at the end of the night.
72 years old, trying again to retake the office of Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was looking at some of the election campaign material coming out of the UNC, and crime features heavily.
Yes.
Kamla Persad Bissessar insisting that she knows how to contain crime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because our elections coming later this year, it's going to be interesting to see how that issue is positioned, because for the first time, certainly in my lifetime, a government will say, as of today, was it 37%?
Yes.
Reduction in murders and an 18% reduction in major crimes across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, will that feature as prominently as it usually does in a general election campaign?
It will, but this time from
a tick for the government.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this would be the first election in Jamaica, certainly, in 45 years, that crime will not be figuring as a negative for the government of Jamaica. Just think about it. I can go back, my memory takes me back to 1976. Crime was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
1980, huge issue. We had the selection of 83. Crime was an issue right through the 80s, right through the 90s, the early 21st century. Crime was an issue. Now, for the first time in almost 50 years, it will not be a beating stick for the government.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a positive for the government.
Yeah.
It's a point I made earlier today that I would like people who can go back to before 1990 to tell me, going into an election, the opposition has certain weapons to beat the government in the head. Crime, unemployment. To a lesser extent, roads and water.
Mm-hmm.
That has not happened in Jamaica for nearly 45, 50 years.
Which is why it's going to be such an interesting campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whether the Labour Party will be effective in making that case, and whether the opposition People's National Party will be good enough to withstand that message, and push for change.
Mm-hmm. And Cliff, several things are happening. If we could just take the listeners back home, because JFJ's Mikel Jackson has responded to Government Senator Marlon Morgan. And she's saying that his call to wear blue in solidarity with the police during the protest Jamaicans for Justice has, a peaceful protest, they say, it risks polarizing a national issue by framing it as a choice between supporting law enforcement and advocating for reform. She's saying the call to wear blue from those who support is not an issue, but when it comes from a political representative, it risks polarizing the country. So this issue...
The country is already polarized.
And lines are being drawn.
Yes. This is a polarizing issue. So that's not new. The issue must be whether the government or the governing party should be actively encouraging Jamaicans to support the JCF.
And Michael Jackson says, in what capacity is the senator speaking? Is it as a JLP representative or an official government representative? He told me it was as a JLP representative. Michael Jackson not finding favor with
this is a This is a political issue. Yeah, no matter how you spin it or slice it or dice it, it is a political issue. And by the way, you notice the opposition has gone silent on it for the most part.
Because in an election year, it would be political
suicidal.
Yes, to be seen to be taking a position that would be against the police. And the conventional wisdom is that in an election, they go first, the security forces, you get an indication of your strength based on how they vote. So I don't think the PNP would want to upset the JCF at all.
And the other clear politics of this, raw politics of it, the fact that crime, murders are down by almost 30 or nearly 40% is popular.
Yes.
People like that.
Yeah.
It is what people want. I spoke this morning of the shift in the dynamics of crime and crime management. Yeah, again, for this first time in more than 40 years, we're beginning to get a sense as Jamaicans that the security forces have the upper hand. Yeah? That listen, we are not reading any more stories that 5 people were murdered today.
Yes.
Or yesterday. It's not happening. And people like that. And it is political because the government is getting the credit for it.
Yeah. Which then places Michael Jackson and JFJ
in a difficult
position.
Yes.
It's a tough job because the principle they're supporting, on the face of it, is something we all should support.
Right.
Yes, accountability for the members of the security
and
forces.
Due process.
But you swim against the tide in a society where people have lived under the gun for so long.
Absolutely.
And finally, they think we may be turning the corner.
Yes.
You're swimming against the tide. I, for one, I respect her courage. I respect the courage of JFJ because the truth is there has to be that voice. There has to be that voice in a democratic society. But I suspect they're not winning the messaging war and they're not winning the hearts and minds of the majority of Jamaicans.
No, because you said it. After 50 years with the criminals and beat, we kill, we maim, we whatever, them losing now, Jamaicans are saying, good for them.
In fact, the narrative I'm seeing on social media is not 106 Jamaicans killed by the security forces, 106 criminals.
Yeah.
That's how it's being framed. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to go for a break. We're juggling multiple things. What's happening here at home, this protest tomorrow, and the lines being drawn in support of black or blue. JFJ says we're black, and there are forces telling you to wear blue in support of the men and women of the JCF. Canada is voting. The polls have now closed. They should have closed by now, in the federal elections.
3 seats have been declared in Canada. No surprises. They've gone the way of tradition.
And in the Twin Island Republic, we're told the PNM is leading in Tobago West. We'll take the break, come back with more.
Get the inside scoop. Tune in to Budget Bites, a brief breakdown of the 2025 budget presentation by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. It's an informative snapshot of the budget and what it means for you. Don't miss Budget Bites, bite-sized insights into the Prime Minister's vision for Jamaica. Budget Bites, unpacking the budget for you.
With improved intelligence gathering, better investigative and crime-solving capabilities, and a return to more targeted and focused strategies on gangs and violence producers. During this period, we saw the interdiction and prosecution of several gangs. But people didn't understand that while the opposition and other, talking heads were criticizing the government over SOE, we were quietly taking down the gang. We brought about 4 major gangs through the court system using the anti-gang legislation which had never been used before. We didn't say anything about it, and we have 19 cases now coming up. So we were You know, we were being criticized, and everybody wants to claim and criticize the government and all, making all kinds of claims. But we were strategic, doing what we were doing, because we know what the real problem was, and we know that our investment was going to pay off. You began to see the impact of better investigation. Several really terrible atrocities and crimes were committed, and within weeks and months, the member from East Kingston and Port Royal can attest to that. Very effective investigations. That is as a direct result of government strategy and investment and improvement. So while the opposition and other talking heads were busy criticizing government strategy and policy, we were quietly doing what we know need to be done. Today we can say that year to date, murders are at their lowest level in 25 years. But I still lament that had we the support of the opposition in the use of SOEs, the fall in murders would have been even greater. The PNP, under this leader of the opposition, can take no credit for the reduction in murders. They have done everything possible to obstruct the government. Everything possible to obstruct the government, and now want to stand up and claim credit. We will continue to invest in our security forces and support the transformation of the JCF into a modern, professional, and technology-driven security force. We will continue to target gangs, which account for 70% of murders in the country. If we focus on eliminating gangs, we can reduce our murder rate to below the regional average of 15 per 100,000. And I'm pleased to announce police intelligence now estimate that there are fewer than 100 active gangs in Jamaica since the beginning of the year, coming from 350. Many have been dismantled or have gone dormant. They are laying low because they know they are being hunted relentlessly by the security forces. But this administration takes national security seriously, and through the National Security Council, something that we have instituted in a consistent way, we have been able to coordinate, enhance, and strengthen the work and collaborative efforts of various security forces to yield greater synergies from our security forces. And again, I would like to acknowledge and thank, but most importantly, encourage the members of our security forces. To their respective heads, the Chief of Defense Staff of the JDF Vice Admiral Antoinette Weems Gorman, CD, Commissioner of Police Dr. Kevin Blake, CD, Director General of MOCA, Colonel Desmond Edwards, and Commissioner of Customs, Dr. Velma Ricketts Walker, CD. Continue with your concerted effort to make Jamaica safe. Together, we will eliminate the gangs and bring peace to our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Pay your traffic ticket online from any browser, anytime, anywhere at the TAJ website or mobile app. Visit www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. If you do not have a TAJ Web Services account, follow the instructions to create one. Then proceed to the option to pay your traffic ticket. If you already have a TAJ account, log in and click Pay Traffic Ticket. To use the app, download the TAJ app from the Google Play Store and use the website login information to access the payment portal. A message from the Ministry of National Security.
The Watchman, exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. The JCF winning the battle and losing the war. Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, has announced that it will be staging a peaceful protest toward ending police violence at the Halfway Tree Transport Center in St. Andrew on Tuesday, April 29, 2025, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The public protest comes in the wake of fatal shooting of civilians by the police climbing above the 100 mark, even as the number of murders drop precipitously by almost 40% compared to the same time last year. No one should be surprised at the adversarial nature of the relationship between the JFJ, a human rights group, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, whose mission is to, and I quote, serve, protect, and reassure with courtesy, integrity, and respect for the rights of all. End quote. That's the dynamics of the relationship when an external group seeks to hold an arm of the government accountable for actions that run contrary to commitments to the citizenry enshrined in its mission statement. It's no longer a matter of conjecture. The appointment of Dr. Kevin Blake to the post of top cop has seen the return of hard policing as a key strategy in crime fighting. With that, the relationship between JFJ and the JCF has descended below adversarial to vitriolic. In response to a statement put out by JFJ that the doubling of police killings this year compared to the same period last year is cause for concern, CP Blake gave a terse response which was carried in the February 22, 2025 edition of the Jamaica Observer. I quote, "To suggest that fatal shooting numbers can be reduced by anything other than the unwillingness of persons being apprehended to engage in deadly confrontations with members of the security forces is irresponsible, or at best advocating for us to relent in our pursuit." End quote. The battle lines are drawn. No less a person than former Prime Minister Bruce Golding weighed in on the side of CP Blake. He was reported in the February 23, 2025 Sunday Observer saying in part the following, I quote, "For its own credibility, JFJ must do more than sound the alarm at the number of reported killings by the police. It must pay some attention to the circumstances in which those killings took place for at least a preliminary impression as to whether those were justifiable homicides." End quote by Mr. Bruce Golding. As the battle of words heats up, the Daily Observer, in its April 22, 2025 editorial, insinuated that having benefited from European Union funding, JFJ's stridency toward the JCF could be a case of he who pays the piper gets to pick the tune. It is hardly surprising that former Commissioner of Police, Hardly Lewin, in an April 27, 2025 column in the Sunday Observer, took the following position. I quote, "I support the JCF. They have a very difficult and dangerous task as they endeavor to serve and protect the public." End quote. With such overwhelming support in the standoff with JFJ, CP Blake and the JCF should be cautioned to turn down the heat, lest in winning the battle, they lose the war. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Bounty 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my multi-link?
The Live Good initiative is aimed at promoting healthy, respectful relationships at home, at school, and in our communities. Let's return to the days when members of our communities all participated in rearing our children with kindness, good manners, and discipline. Let's respect each other. Let's become our brother's keeper. Let's replace violence with understanding. Let's all strive to live good.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
It's 13 minutes after 7 in Kingston, Jamaica, 13 minutes after 8 in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, where they are now counting the votes in today's general elections. And the polls are closing in the Canadian election, where they are across a number of different time zones. And that's where we're going to go, where the polls in Canada come just 6 weeks after Mark Carney was sworn in as Prime Minister on March 14, replacing the unpopular Justin Trudeau. If Carney loses, he would be the shortest reigning Prime Minister of Canada, having served just 45 days. But the election is being overshadowed by U.S. President Donald Trump, who has threatened to make Canada the 51st state of the U.S.
As voting got underway on Monday, Trump wrote on Truth Social, "No more artificially drawn line from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be." The conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, who is accused by his critics of Trump-like policies and style, was the first political leader to respond. He said that Canada would continue to be proud, sovereign, and independent, and would never be the 51st state.
In a poll viewed as one of the most consequential in Canada's history, Poilievre is fighting to close the gap with banker turned novice politician Mark Carney, who heads the Liberal Party. In his last days of campaigning, Carney made President Trump, not Poilievre, his main target of attack.
Taking on Trump is the one issue political leaders all agree on, but they also know it's not an equal fight. Of course, the U.S. economy is 10 times the size of Canada's. So far, the Liberal Party, they have an early lead as the counting continues. They're leading in 14 electoral districts. They also refer to them as ridings, while the Conservative Party is ahead in 5. The winning party will need to win a minimum of 172 of those ridings out of the 343 that are being contested.
And ridings are what we call constituencies. All right. For more, we're being joined by a journalist at CBC News in Canada, a Jamaican, Oral Buchanan. Good evening, Oral.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sir Cliff. How are you doing?
We're good. And you?
Not too bad, sir.
Very well. So you work for CBC News in Canada now?
Yes, I do.
Good.
I have been for the last 2 years or so.
Very well. So tell me, how is it looking in terms of the early returns?
All right. So for most of the votes that are coming in now are from the Atlantic region that comprises 4 provinces: New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. So they're like an hour and a half difference from where I'm at, which is Ontario, which is central Canada, Ontario, Quebec. So far, the Liberals are leading in 17 ridings, and the Conservatives now, 18-12 now, and one Liberal has been elected so far. So So it's quite early. The polls won't close until like 9:30 in central Canada. And as you go west, it will be closing like 7:30 Mountain Time, which is like 2-3 hours behind ET time, Eastern Standard Time.
And what has been the mood of this campaign?
I think, as you mentioned in the so expertly in the intro before I joined the call, the Trump factor has changed this campaign significantly. For a long time, the Conservatives were well ahead in the poll. Justin Trudeau, as you alluded to, became unpopular, and it's as if he had run his time. He had spent enough time, and Canadians wanted a change. Canadians wanted a difference in the leadership of the country. And you saw that in the polls and how that was reflected in the sentiments of people. But then Trump came into the mix, got elected, got inaugurated, and then he mentioned the word tariff and 51st state. And that sort of rallied people behind the flag of who's best to handle Trump, who is best to handle the tariffs. Then in come Mark Carney, a central banker who not only handled the affairs of Canada, but then went on to became the first non-English to be in charge of the central bank there in England as well. So you had that kind of, okay, fine, he understands the monetary policies, he understands, and tariff was going to be a big issue. And Carney and the Liberals made sure that the tariff became the central theme of the campaign, of their campaign. Mm-hmm. For a long time, the Conservatives were leading because there was a disaffection towards the carbon tax, which was a central piece of the Liberal environmental plan. So we are going to put a price on pollution, on the Liberals campaigned or championed. And many Canadians were, no, we do not want this. It is costing more every time you go to the pump, and the knock-on effects of that. And the first thing Carney did when he was elected was to say, okay, fine, we're taking away the carbon tax. We're reducing that to zero. And that had been a central theme for the Conservatives. So now they had to, okay, fine, carbon tax is no longer the issue that we can hammer home. What is it that we want to make this election about? Affordability, housing, immigration. But because of the effects of Trump, tariff on, tariff off, tariff on again, we're going to put tariff on that, we're not putting tariff on that, it was a great instability, and the Liberals realized that they were surging the more Trump spoke about the 51st state and questioned Canada's sovereignty.
And so, Oral, Poilievre, because before this election, before the campaign, I noted he was being called Canada's Trump. He certainly postured in a similar way. How has he responded in terms of his new posturing once Trump started to play around with the idea of Canada's sovereignty?
To be honest with you, I think he probably opened his press conferences by rejecting the idea. But for Poilievre and for his campaign team, which I think caused open friction between the provincial Conservatives and the federal Conservatives, because the provincial Conservatives, who won another majority in the province of Ontario, they were saying that you need to be tackling this tariff and the sovereignty idea head on. But Poilievre, he and his team, he maintained that the issue of sovereignty was not in question. Like, Canada's sovereignty is not even in question. It's not a question that we're not giving up our sovereignty. Therefore, the real issues that we need to be debating and to be tackling is affordability, housing, immigration, and diversifying Canadian resources to different markets. So we're building more pipelines across the country and getting the oil to different markets so that you are no longer linked or so dependent on America as a primary market. If you where that played out probably most is in St. John, New Brunswick, where it is said to be the most tariffed, or most likely tariffed city in the country, the city that is probably most vulnerable to tariffs. So because of the amount of seafood and oil and lumber that's exported.
Something else also emerged in the body politic of Canada, Oral Buchanan, and a deep resentment against America and things American. You saw it in sports, ice hockey.
Oh yes, the Four Nations tournament where the American anthem was being booed significantly. Many rallied around the flag, and the Buy Canadian sentiment. People were going to the grocery stores and looking to make sure that this product is a made in Canada product, or so you got that. And a number of local businesses have reported a boost in their sales because of the patriotic desire to support locally made products.
Yeah.
But Canada's economy and the American, especially when you think about the auto sector, right? It's so deeply interconnected. They would say like one particular to build an entire car, a part in that car may travel across the borders 7 times before it's finally assembled. So one part is created, it's refined over here, goes to another state, it comes back here because of the how closely geographically located the cities are. You can have one part be made here, say Windsor, it goes over there, it comes back across the border. And so the auto sector is particularly nervous and will be significantly impacted if the tariffs continue.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep in touch with you, Oral, as more results come in later tonight and into tomorrow. By tomorrow this time, we should have a clear indication as to who would have won the elections, and we're going to keep in touch.
Yeah, I think when the polls close for Central Canada, Ontario is 122 seats, Quebec 78. So that's where a significant amount of the votes. They call it the vote-rich region of the GTA. So whomever is able to get Toronto and the GTA, say Brampton, Mississauga, if you can win those seats and get significant seats in Quebec as well, then you're very much on your way.
Going into the elections, what was the distribution of the seats in the 343-seat federal parliament?
Liberals had 160, the Conservatives 119, the Bloc Québécois 32, and the New Democratic Party 25.
Yes.
And the Conservatives were leading by a long way because the New Democratic Party, they were doing better in the polls because they had gotten the Liberals to sign off on some signature plans like national pharmacare, dental care. But when people became disaffected with the Liberals, then they also started to lose popularity, and so the Conservatives were soaring. Then Carney came in, and then the New Democratic Party is now in danger of losing official party status.
Yeah.
And that's where the Liberals have surged in the polls. Conservatives have been consistently high, and many people and experts have said that the numbers they're polling at would have normally assured them of a win. But because of the Trump factor, now this election, because
there's a Jamaican
7.2.
Complete your point. Go ahead.
7.2 million Canadians have already cast their vote.
Yes.
In the early voting, which is like 25% more than 2021. You have covered many, many, many more elections than I have.
Yes.
And when you see such a massive turnout, it's usually suggesting that people want change.
Yes. There is a Jamaican connection. There's a Jamaican connection. A Jamaican by the name of Carlton Darby. He's a leader of the small United Progressive Party. Anything at all on them? They're making any headway?
No. This is a 2-horse race. It is going to be a liberal and conservative race. The New Democratic Party, the Greens, the Bloc Québécois, they're all fighting for survival.
Mm-hmm.
This is either you desire change or you're continuing with the Liberal Party for a fourth term.
Yes. We know a little bit about Carney, former Bank of Jamaica, Bank of England governor, well-known banker. But what about this man, Poilievre? Tell us a little bit about him.
A career politician. He was if you want for lack of a better term, the attack dog for the Conservative Party for many, many years. Then he took over the leadership after the Conservative lost in the 2021 election. And so he's very critical of the Liberals, as you would expect. And he is very forceful on the policies that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when it comes to the security, like catch and release, he calls it catch and release. He's like, when it comes to bail reform, he wants strong measures in that. Like he wants to deny people being able to just how the bail system works now. He wants it to be more stringent around that because he believes, and he will point to data, I suppose, that suggests that a small amount of people are committing a vast amount of the crime. And most of those people, he suggests, are people who are out on bail. Mm-hmm. So he wants to tighten that. He wants to, as I mentioned, axe the carbon tax. That's his tagline, axe the carbon tax, remove the carbon tax, because he thinks it makes things more expensive. And the carbon tax that applies to residential homes or vehicles, or when you go to the pump, and industrial carbon tax. So he wants to reduce that as well. Mm-hmm. He wants to ensure that they do not implement a tax where if you sell a property, then inheritance tax or anything like that, he wants those things. So for him, it is cutting those things. The NDP will argue that yes, sir, go ahead.
Going into the elections, they need 172 seats for a clear majority. The Liberals go in with 160. You said the Conservatives 119. Is it likely that whoever wins tonight will come out with a clear majority of 172 plus 1?
The Liberals have been asking for it. They have been emboldened by the polls. So not only do they want a fourth term, they want a strong mandate, Mr. Carney said. The Conservatives for a long time appeared as if they were ranging upwards of 200 seats at some point. But then in January, the moment Carney became the Prime Minister, or Justin Trudeau stepped down, and then Trump mentioned the words tariff, 51st state, everything changed, at least in the polls.
Yes. Thank you very much, Oral. Oral Buchanan is with CBC News in Canada. It's election night in Canada. Will it be Prime Minister Mark Carney tomorrow morning, or will it be Prime Minister Poilievre tomorrow morning? Thank you very much.
Thank you both, gentlemen. Have a great night.
You too.
Good.
Taking you back to Trinidad now, the early trends, the UNC is ahead in 6 seats. The PNM trails in 2. At least one cabinet minister so far appears to be in trouble based on the very early trends. The health minister, Terence Dayal Singh, he's being led quite substantially by Devesh Maharaj from the UNC. That's in Aranguez, St. Joseph. Forgive me if I don't get these pronunciations correct. The UNC is also ahead in Tunapuna. Roger Alexander leading the PNM. In Chaguanas East, the UNC is also ahead. They're also ahead in Mayaro and in Couva South.
Couva is traditional UNC territory. That's the old stomping ground of Basdia Pandey.
The former Attorney General in a PNM government, Faris Al-Rawi, he is trailing Michael Doalath in San Fernando East. The PNM is holding on so far in Tobago West and Point Fortin. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But so far, early trends, very early. The results are coming in. The UNC ahead in 6, PNM in 2, and the Patriotic Front is leading in 1 seat. Tobago's People's Party also ahead in 1 seat. That's Tobago East. The polls that we have seen suggest at the end of the evening, it should be, the polls say, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Besesa. But it's never over.
But it's still early.
Until it's over.
Yeah,
Right.
6 and 3. That's 9 of 41. Remember, there are 41 seats. The majority needed, 21. Yeah?
And this is the PNM going for a third term. Yes, it is. 2016, 2020. Yes, going for a third term. So, let's see. A party here in Jamaica says a third term is loading. Let's see what happens for the PNM.
It's 27 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. You're listening to Nationwide at 5. We're going to take your calls now at 63093-7124. That's 876-630-937124 or 618-8255.
So you want to live, I walk and look over your shoulder, no sleep at night. I wonder if your family safe, your mother, your brother, your sister, your youth them. And when they get catch, are you alone? But not there to help you. You have to talk for yourself a court. And then when you're gone behind the bars, them see them on their road, I live them life and I enjoy life. Gang violence don't make no sense. Leave gang violence alone. Let's work together and make Jamaica a safer and peaceful country. Let's all live good.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Cliff Says is by far the most popular mid-morning radio segment in Jamaica. Cliff Hughes shares his views on the hot-button topics of the day, editorializing on various issues in the news, breaking news stories, and expounding on stories. Cliff Says sets the tone of the show for the rest of the day. Join the award-winning journalist Cliff Hughes weekdays during Cliff Hughes Online at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Join the revolution in media.
Cliff Says is brought to you by Educom Credit Union, providing value through service, and Hyundai, modern premium affordable vehicles.
"25 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. We're watching for you. Election results coming out of Trinidad and Tobago. 41 seats up for grabs. Will it be the People's National Movement, the incumbent of the new Prime Minister Stuart Young, or will we see a return to power of the veteran opposition leader Kamla Persad-Besesa? So far, the UNC of Persad-Besesa is leading. And, of course, in Canada, yes, we're also keeping an eye on that one as well.
The UNC in Trinidad ahead in 6 seats. The PNM has now taken the lead in 3. Paige, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Hughes and Ricardo.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing well.
Good?
How are you?
Good evening.
I'm okay. Question. JFJ will be having a protest, I understand, tomorrow in the transport center?
Yes.
And it's against the
Outside the
JCF,
transport
right?
center. It's not against the JCF as I understand it. It's against the increase in fatal police shootings.
Okay. I just wanted to know because I was asked the question and I said, I should call you guys and ask you if it's the same JCF will be out there upholding law and order or they coming with private security. Just asking for a friend.
Well, you could tell your friend that it will be the JCF that's there providing security. Yes.
Okay, will do.
All right.
My peace. Bye-bye.
All right, Paige.
But let me hear your views on. Are you concerned about the number of police fatal shootings?
No, Paige.
She's gone.
630-9371-246188255. Willa, good evening.
Good evening, Cliff.
That is Ricardo.
Ricardo.
Good evening, Willow.
Yeah. You know, you're about this demonstration and you're about color. It brings me back to the Bible. Yes, it brings me back to the Bible. You know, you have a color that God talk about much in the Bible. And the color that was wear by the hem of the high priest when they're going into the holy place of the sanctuary. And I don't know if you know that color, Cliff or Ricardo.
No, what is it?
The color blue. And what the color blue represent in the Bible. And you people don't know that either. The color blue represent the Ten Commandments.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes. The color blue represent the Ten Commandments. Yes. And it's a missing color for most, for I think the Christian world, because they don't uphold that color, because many of these Christians today, these churches today, don't talk much about the Ten Commandments. Yes. Because it's 10, is not, you can't, as what the Bible said, the Word of God said, you can't hold 9 and forget about 1. You have to talk about the whole 10. And it's the whole 10 that govern the kingdom of God. And if we want to reach that kingdom, we have to be governed by it on earth here. Yeah. So tomorrow, they said one set going to wear black and one set going to wear blue. And the black, as we said, is represented by the devil himself. And the blue is from God. But
I think this is rather a stretch, Willow. But I hear you. Thank you for the call. 630-9371-246188255. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo.
Good evening.
Good
Cliff
evening
is here.
to you.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir.
This is your retired DSP, Christopher Bowen, giving my perspective on what is happening.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if any of you picked up this, and you are investigative journalists. You are such a good man. I remember you with the penguin thing and all of these things. You remember that one?
That's one I try to forget.
All right, I want you to forget it. But Emily knew me also. But I tell you this. You notice the day that JFJ choose to do their demonstration or protest?
What, Tuesday?
Tuesday what? The 29th?
Yes.
What else will happen tomorrow?
What is happening? Parliament?
The Minister of National Security will be speaking in Parliament. So JFJ is going out there to do their budget presentation at the same time, 1 o'clock.
No, but I think this protest was announced quite a bit ago, before we knew that the minister was going to open the sectoral debate, man.
Look here. You don't listen.
No, but that's a fact. I mean, they announced this quite some time ago.
Possible.
Yeah.
But I tell you this. I will tell you, I could say a lot. But some people, they leave them in the engine room so they know everything and know the date when to assign what is what.
Oh, I see.
My good friend Bruce Golding leaves some people in the engine room who pull up the screw and give him a own goal. I am telling you this, that JFJ planned this because the minister is speaking tomorrow. Why they don't go out at 11 o'clock before the minister speaks or starts speaking at 2 p.m.? It's a distraction because the police force is working. I will tell you this, that even the FLA, they are doing better training than the police. I might get a lick in my head back from a police now if I say this. But the JFJ, I remember Flo O'Connor lecturing me in 2010 when they were looking for Dudus. And Flo O'Connor said to us at the staff college, listen, you see why you don't have problem? You don't make people talk and who not talk for your story because you have to go through one central agency to talk. So it's very rare that a superintendent or deputy soup could speak. You have to send it up to CC and it takes so long. And it was until when Flo realized that when she had a family member that was injured by gunshot, and she said, you must talk your side of the story. I recall that well. You understand? They planned to distract from the minister's presentation. And I will tell you this, I'm not a police anymore, so I can't talk. The PNP put somebody in everything, even on the church choir. The PNP have somebody right around a water commission. The PNP have somebody right around a roads and work. And they try to do this. So that's the distraction tomorrow. You understand? I hear Dayton in St. Anne talking St. Anne's Bay. He should never come back to St. Anne's Bay and try to talk because he couldn't fix his mother gate. It is crystal clear. I hear the other young man this morning say it's crystal clear, but he wasn't speaking about the politician. I wanted to talk and say it is crystal clear that Northwest St. Anne will be staying the course. We are going to stay and wear blue. I'm going to wear blue for the police. I can't sleep at night for the 37 years that I've done because of criminals. And for the first time, I will tell you, I can't sleep with my door open. My door is open, and you come and open it and see if you can come in.
Thank you for the call, my brother.
I won't ask you where you are.
I beg you one more single little point. I'm begging Crystal and Xavier. They started, and the minister, Samuda, the water project in Retreat to Brownstown started, and we have a stall in the work. I'm begging them, I'm begging Prime Minister, just run the work and make it go on. And even if him not to deal with spark, just run the flame and just deal with the thing. Because I pray, I beg everybody that I see, give this Prime Minister another term. Because me, do 37 years, I mean, no, them trick me. Me have to carry the previous government to Privy Council to get uniform allowance, housing allowance, all the way to Privy Council. That's why I support the Privy Council. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for the call. Paul, good evening.
Good evening. The senior cop that got damaged, how is he now?
That's Minto. We haven't gotten an update.
Have heard anybody spoke about him?
He's back at work, my producer says. He's back
at work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. Good to hear. What I must say, you see, I am not for either of these two parties. Because what happened 2009 or 10, taxpayers' money was given to Dans. So these two parties have a lot to account for all these gangsters in this country. JJ should have stopped right there and call on the country and say, no, why are we giving contract to these Dans to make so much gangs in this country? Yes. So these two parties should not boast about crime going on or whatever. The police should be recommended and praised for that. None of these parties.
But
all these done, what is they call Wanad and Klansman and Zeeks and Dodos and things there. They was given all that a contract to make millions to have farm thousands of people for gangs in this country. The police them must be commended for what they are doing, not politicians.
No, but you also have to remember and face the reality that the resources that has been given to the police force, that's been because of a government's choices in terms of... No, I agree. No, I agree. You won't hear me disagree with you on that.
Okay.
But I'm saying you certainly have to accept that some of the budgeting choices have been made and the allocations based on a record of how the economy has been... Okay.
But listen to this one. The army that have 6,000 soldiers should have only 2,000. We should have 4,000 men on the street. When I'm in my bed at night, I can't call someone to come and say, I have a problem. I have to call the police. So it's that 6,000 soldiers that's up by camp. 4,000 of them should be on the street, visible that people conform to the law. You know when people breaking the stoplight, when I stop at the stoplight, I see 2-3 cars passing.
Paul.
Yes.
You remember that the army has a distinct function, right? They
We
don't conduct.
don't need the 6,000 people in the army. We're not fighting in the war. We're fighting inland war against the criminals.
And a part of the army's responsibility is to secure the borders. That's a significant part of the
we don't
fight.
need 6,000 to secure border.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you on that. But thanks for the call.
No, we don't need that.
Appreciate the call, my brother. Michael Jackson, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Brooks, Sir Hughes, and your listeners. Happy
Good
to
evening.
be here.
Good evening, Mikhail.
Mikhail.
Good.
I'm asking you a very direct question.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think this is so important considering all the pushback, all the abuse you're receiving? Why? Why go through with it?
You know, let me take it from two perspectives. No staff member at JFJ are martyrs to the cause. But the organization has a mandate. It has a purpose. And when we took and accepted that call to join the organization, we knew that there were risks. The things that we often advocate for is not popular. And I think as a Jamaican society, we need to take a look within an introspection on why some of these matters may not be popular. And we can speak to that very, very briefly in the minutes that we have. But in terms of the protest, we examine the numbers. But beyond the numbers, remember now that we get calls daily about allegations of abuse by police officers. For example, one of those calls that we got in early January was from a mother where her 17-year-old son was shot 5 times in the back by a JDS soldier. He could not walk. Right now, he's barely sitting upright. That child had the wits to play dead while he's still alive. And these are the types of calls that we get. Now, many among us may be quick to brand that child as a criminal. He must be doing something wrong, which is why I say we have to do a little bit of an introspection in terms of why we may be too quick to label an entire community as criminals in a lot of these instances. But we do get the calls, and sometimes the evidence that the family members present to us or witness statements is enough for us to call for greater scrutiny. We can remember Romaria Sterling, a 27-year-old who was shot down by Bugwalk. Remember, the police had a particular account in terms of the time of day that the incident occurred. Then the family released CCTV footage where we saw who appeared to be Omario kneeling down, hands behind his head, seemingly compliant with the police. Then what appears to sound like gunshots is heard. We have several of these cases. So when we do our protest, we're looking at systemic issues, and we're also advocating for and behalf of the families, some of whom are alleging right now that they are facing intimidation by law enforcement officers because they dare to take the matter to Indicom and JFJ.
Pause.
That is why we're having our protest tomorrow.
You say systemic issues, but your critics say you're simply broad brushing. You're taking specific examples and you're trying to make a mountain of a molehill. They say that there is accountability. They point to Indicom. They say that Indicom is on it and, they keep the police on their toes. And therefore, the way that you broad brush is inappropriate. How do you respond to that?
I urge people to take up those Indicom reports and read them with great probity. And let me say this before I even get into that quickly. The type of advocacy that JFJ is doing now, when we advocated for Michael Gale in 1999 and we took a matter on behalf of 13 men in Grand Spin. Those actions of JFJ and the mother of Michael Gale, Jenny Cameron, is what influenced Indicom that we have today. The actions of JFJ have contributed towards the accountability system that we're seeing now. So again, it highlights the importance of a human rights organization. But our work is not done because while we have the accountability systems, there are certain questions I have to ask the public. When you read through the Indicom reports, I hear people quoting that Indicom says 80% and so on have been deemed to be justified. I want you to pose that question directly to Hugh Faulkner and have his response on that. But when you go through the Indicom reports, case by case, yes, some of these matters, majority of them, are in fact deemed lawful, but you have enough where it says conflicting accounts between the police, citizens, and bystanders. Therefore, I don't have enough to advance to the possibility of charges being recommended. Not that the officers have been cleared, but you simply don't have enough. Remember, in a lot of these fatalities, it's the officer's word against a dead person. So who would be able to say this is an independent account of what may have taken place? There are some instances when you look at the number of persons with mental illness who were killed. Now, the police has to exercise reasonable force, but the question is, what are the broader systems? So when the police get a call for a response to someone who is mentally unstable and waving a cutlass, what you want when the police is responding is a community response of mental health experts to help to de-escalate the situation. Let's look at Indicom's report again. Some 24 incidents of the 189 fatalities in 2024, there were no firearms, no other weapons. So I urge people to read through the Indicom's report. I can also ask the question, how many of those cases have led to the recommendation for charges to be laid? How many of those cases have led to prosecution and then conviction? And the numbers start trending down. Let's look at Indicom's 2024 report. The only 2024 incident that led to charges being laid in that same year was the Winrod Road incident, where the police stated, I came in confrontation with 3 men. They had firearms, and then CCTV footage said otherwise, and the police were charged, 2 of them, 2 weeks after. That was the only incident in 2024 that happened in the same year that led to charges being laid. Ask yourselves why CCTV footage was available. And that's all JFJ is calling for. Let's have an independent account, because we know that sometimes citizens will get it wrong. We know that sometimes citizens will unfairly accuse police officers who are carrying out their lawful duties. But the camera would aid in having those matters being resolved in a more timely manner. So back to the point I was making, if you look at the Indicom's report in terms of the number of charges that were recommended, you're talking about 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Only one that happened in 2024 was recommended for charges, because systemic delays such as backlog with the forensic unit, sometimes when Indicom show up at the crime scene, the evidence have been washed away. These are some of the issues.
So is it JFJ's considered view, Mikel, that a plurality or a majority of the fatal shootings of the police are extrajudicial?
Absolutely not. And we have never made that call to say such statements are used. And I'm happy that you raised that. What we have said, we look at each case on an individual basis. Every case turns on its own facts. So we have never, if you look at my own statements, absolutely not. We have never made a public statement to suggest that these matters were extrajudicial. We have raised concerns in some specific matters. Teron Hewitt, that was the gentleman who was shot by JDF officers down by one of the Zozo areas in Kingston, and Romario Sterling. We have raised those questions because of the evidence for those matters. But what we're seeing is the numbers are increasing, and it is enough for us to call for greater scrutiny. But we have never been irresponsible enough to say that most of these matters are extrajudicial, simply because we don't have the evidence to make such a statement. So we have never said that.
Mikel, I see some of the threats you get online, and I can just imagine the ones that you get privately, you and your staff at JFJ. Do you feel safe doing this kind of work?
There are threats at times, but we consider them. We get security support, and the work is what it is, Ricardo. There are times when it becomes daunting, but when I listen to a mother, for example, the 15-year-old, where he was forced to go in the police vehicle, that's the Glengough police station, and I speak to the mother, and we speak to the mothers of others. We are grounded in what we're doing, and that is what keeps us remaining focused on the work, and because of that, we continue to do what we must. But we won't be daunted by any threat. We continue to do our work, and we continue to do it with integrity and to the best of our ability.
We're out of time. JFJ will have a protest outside the transport center tomorrow at 1. They're encouraging you to wear black against the increase in fatal police shootings and the need for body-worn cameras. Of course, there's been a call for citizens to wear blue in support of the JCF. Thank you for your time, Mikel.
All the best.
Have a good night.
Okay. Well, it's 7:50. Just before we go, in Trinidad, the UNC continues to lead. They are leading in 4 seats.
6.
6 seats?
Yes, 6 seats.
The UNC is leading.
PNM is in 4, right?
The PNM is in 4, leading in 4, and the UNC is leading in 6 of the 41 seats so far.
It's slow going coming out of Trinidad. By this time now, Cliff would be getting ready, and everybody would be telling him wait, and he'd be getting ready. It's 8 o'clock.
Leave me alone.
Dana Davey, thank you so much. Andrew Glenn Anderson, thank you. My colleagues in the newsroom, the best in the business, led by our editor, Cara Powell, our sponsors, contributors, and you, our valued listeners. Thank you all so much. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes, reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Good night.
Hop into action this Easter